It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Richard Campbell's here. Microsoft bringing Copilot to Windows 10.2. We'll talk a little bit about why you couldn't get 23H2 via the ISO download. I will install Windows on ARM on a brand new MacBook and tell you how to get an inexpensive license, too. And then Surface support for firmware and drivers is extended. Microsoft corrects MFA fatigue. Paul Thurrott's got some Nintendo news, and we've got a great brown liquor of the week. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, episode 854, recorded Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. Dated, insecure, and unreliable. This episode of Windows Weekly is brought to you by Traceroute. Traceroute launches with an in-depth look at AI. Love it, hate it, or fear it? It's time for some couples counseling for this relationship. Don't miss this two-part special and other episodes that find the humanity in the hardware on the new season of Traceroute on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And by Miro, the online workspace for innovation, where your team can dream, design, and build the future together from any location. Tap into a way to map processes, visualize content, run retrospectives, and keep all your documents and data in one place. Get your first 3 boards for free at Miro.com/podcast. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show we cover the latest news from Microsoft with these cats right here. From beautiful British Columbia, I've got Richard Thompson. I always call you Richard Thompson because I like his music. But it's Richard Campbell of Runners Radio and .NET Rocks. Hello, Richard.
Hello, friend.
Do you play music?
No, that's Carl's gig.
Oh, nice.
I spent some time in audio engineering, so I've mixed a lot of music, but I don't.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. Right to the left, famous guitar player, Paul Thurrott from Thurrott.
I do sing in the shower.
Yes.
Sometimes in the car. You
have a lovely baritone. You could...
Sure.
Maybe even a basso profundo. You could,
wow.
You could say this. In a world where Windows is the dominant operating system.
I think you need a good mic for that, too. It's like, in a world.
In a world.
Get up close.
Yeah. Together, they cover the waterfront when it comes to Windows and Microsoft. And we're so glad to have you here today to talk about Windows. Hello, you dozers and you winners. Chat is ongoing right now in our Club Twit Discord. If you want to join us there, we'd love to see you. We now do the chat in a single room called Live Chat. Clever name.
Yeah, it took me a while to find it. Yeah, there it is.
There it is, Live Chat. Well, we used to have a Windows chat, and we used to have a chat for every show, but now we thought, well, why don't we just have it all in one place? And then, though, if you do want to talk about individual shows, we've turned those into fora, which is the plural of forums. So you can go to the forum channels, and there's a little tutorial, but you can see each show there, and your comments there are welcome. So it's kind of like both chat and... We realize that there's some ephemera, so that should go in the live chat, and then there's some stuff that you might want to comment more permanently. So, Club Twit members, get on in there. Is there a dead chat? Paul says... Twitter. Look at that. Little repartee in the Discord. Thank you, sir.
Dead chat walking.
If you want to join Club Twit, we would appreciate it. Twit.tv/Club Twit. $7 a month, ad-free versions of all the shows and the Discord and lots of other stuff. In fact, Stacy's Book Club is tomorrow, which is pretty exciting. John Scalzi's Kaiju Preservation Society tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific. And on the 16th, in a week from tomorrow, Renee Ritchie in a fireside chat, formerly host of Mac Break Weekly. But
now he works for YouTube, right?
Creator liaison, like Big Shot.
I see him sometimes in YouTube Studio. His little head pops up like a little...
It doesn't sound like an easy job, though, creator liaison.
Can you imagine?
A lot of creators.
Mr. Beast on the line. Oh, crap.
Mr. Right.
Oh, crap.
Right. It's like dealing with like wrestlers or professional poker players. They all have crazy.
I suspect there's a team handling Jimmy these days.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. I'm going to ask Renee. Let's ask Renee that. That would be a great question. Paul, are you still in Mexico or are you back? You're back home, aren't you?
No, I'm back.
In Macungie, PA. And Richard, you're in Madeira Park, BC.
I am. I think this will be it for you. Right?
No, you're not going home for going back to Christmas in Mexico City. I meant to ask you, did you notice how crazy Mexico City was during the Formula One race a few weeks ago?
No, because Mexico City is the size of Connecticut, and that part of Mexico City is on the other side of the airport. And
it was in Bridgeport, not in.
I would never have even know it occurred, other than so many people mentioned it to me.
Isn't that funny? It's a big
city. And then the other thing was Day of the Dead, so we actually were there through Day of the Dead, and I got to tell you, whatever Halloween something you've seen anywhere, they don't even come close.
Different leagues,
is off the charts.
Yeah,
off the charts. 3 days of trick-or-treating with children. 3.
Yeah.
Right? Citywide. Just insane. Insanity. They did a parade this year.
Wow.
Right down Reforma. Yeah. It was like
had to have fun.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting because it was originally not a big deal in Mexico City, right?
Right. And
it was more Oaxaca.
The movie happened.
And then James Bond happened.
Spectre. It was go watch the first 10 minutes of Spectre. It all takes place in the Zocalo and the Grand Hotel, which is that beautiful building with the interior or the roof made out of stained glass.
And they thought, well, we better celebrate.
And they're like, this is fun.
Yeah, it is.
Everybody
fun.
had a good time.
It actually is fun. I think it's a great holiday. I really quite enjoy it. Mike Elgin was in Oaxaca during the Day of the Dead and sent back a bunch of pictures from his Meta. So Mike was on Twitter on Sunday singing the praises of those Meta Ray-Bans of all people.
Actually, yeah, those look pretty cool to me because they look like sunglasses, right? Like they should, real sunglasses.
And they don't, they're not a heads-up display, but they can shoot video and stills. And they have, he says, very good audio and an AI assistant inside.
Sure.
I don't know whose. It's not anyone we know. It's Mark Zuckerberg, I guess.
It's the one from BMW. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Speaking of BMW, I just got
great to have Mark in your head, right?
Yeah.
You want to wrestle? Speaking of BMW, I just got a big update on my iPhone so that it wouldn't fry on a BMW's charger.
Actually, Leo, what you got was a tiny update.
Yeah.
But it does fix the problem. I've never seen an iPhone update install that quickly.
Yeah, because neither you or I have a BMW, but just in case.
I do have a BMW, actually, but it's an old BMW.
Oh, you do? Okay. Does it have wireless AirPlay?
No, it doesn't have anything, Leo. It barely has Bluetooth.
All right. I'm sorry. I distracted. We have stuff to talk about. Important stuff like Windows 11.
Yeah. So, Windows Central broke the news that Microsoft is bringing Copilot to Windows 10, but I don't know if we talked about this explicitly, but I've been thinking about that for quite a while, like that they would, of course, have to do this for the same reason that they'll probably have to extend support for Windows 10, which is that there are so many people on it, over 2/3 of the user base, and literally right around 1 billion people as we speak. You can't leave that audience behind as much as you want to move forward. This is something Microsoft has grappled with again and again over the years. Windows, what was it called? Windows Presentation Foundation,
WPF, yeah.
WPF. Why does that sound weird when I say it? It was originally going to be a Longhorn-only technology, but the user base was all XP, and they had to bring it. They had to bring it everywhere.
Come on, that's not why it happened. What happened is they had to actually ship Vista.
Come on, man, it's not.
Come on,
and
you
then
know better.
And clean up the mess.
Listen, I'm tired of your truth-telling bullshit. Okay? No, you're right. My point only was that this is not unprecedented. It makes sense. You have this huge user base. Can't ignore it. And especially since they need.
As much as you want to lead the parade, sometimes when the parade hangs a right, you have to run in front of it too.
That's right.
Right. So listen, this is where the parade's going. Get in front.
We see this in small ways. There are little things, no new features in Windows 10, right? And then we start seeing little things popping up,
Except this one, maybe that one.
We
didn't get the memo.
Well, new features are an incentive, I guess, to upgrade. I'm sure how they view them. I don't think they really are. If you want them to be used, bring them to the most people you can. And Windows 10 and 11 are essentially the same operating system. So,
and I would argue that Copilot was a good incentive. Like, if you're going to talk about any one thing, like that would be probably the big one. Although arguably, and then we get back to the whole MPU thing, it's going to be the hardware in the end anyway. And the new hardware will have the DOS.
That's right.
I was just, before the show, I was showing you the new M3 Max Mac laptop, and I put Parallels on it. And we've talked about this before. I love this. Parallels, as the installer says, oh, do you need Windows? You want to install it. So it's downloading Windows 11 now. But will it be 22H2?
23H2?
I mean, 23
It should be.
H2.
So, okay, actually, this is the next topic. So I can't say for Parallels explicitly, because I don't actually know where they're getting it. I don't know if they have their own, they take the Microsoft one, customize it, and then deploy that out to users, or if they literally grab the one from Microsoft. So we'll see, I guess. I guess we'll find out.
Last week after we finished the show, I just clicked on the button that said install 23H2 on this laptop, and it was not a big deal, but apparently it is for some folks.
It is, yeah. So I spoke to this last week. I ended up writing about it after the show. If you forget all the drama from earlier in the year, and God knows I cannot, but let's just, for this moment, we'll try. And I'll just say that, they told me the week before this was happening, they had told us previously to this, 2 months ago, whatever it was, that 23H2 would be an enablement package, a simple thing, an EKB, which means you still have to reset, reboot the computer, but it comes back quick, it installs quick, and basically it's just flipping some switches in policy or the registry or whatever, enabling features that were kind of delivered on the side in other updates, right? Simple, small thing. So you think, well, everyone's going to get it. That day will come, whatever that day is. That day was last Tuesday, unexpectedly, but that day, whatever, everyone's going to get it immediately. That's how it's going to work. And no, I'm trying to write a book, right? Update it for this exact release. This is a big problem for me. I went out to Mexico with the explicit goal of doing what I ended up doing, thankfully. But, once the real thing comes out, I want to make sure I'm on the real thing. I want clean installs. I want to see what this looks like. And what I found last week was that there were, I'm going to call them 4 primary ways to get this thing, right? One is what I think you're saying you experienced. You went to Windows Update and it said there's a new update.
There it was, hit the button.
Windows 11, yep. Yeah. That's the best way to get it as an upgrade, right? But for people like me who actually need it, writing a book again, there are 3 other ways, right? And those all involve Googling the phrase, download Windows 11. And then you go to that page on Microsoft.com, and there's a page that has all 3 of those ways. And those 3 ways are, you download the ISO, right, which is a disk image file.
Right.
You use the installation assistant, which is a way from the web to run a version of setup that does what Richard did through Windows Update. It's a much more ponderous and long.
Oh, really?
It takes a long time. Yeah, it takes a really long time.
Oh.
It's not. But you could do that. Or you could do what I think, I don't know, this is what I would have done in the past typically, is I create a version of the installation media using the media creation tool.
Right.
Which is the Microsoft thing that you download from that same page.
That advantage of that is now you have that and you can keep it around.
That's right. And because I want to put it on multiple computers. Exactly right. So that's how I usually do it. And what I found last Tuesday was that the media creation tool downloaded 22H2 and the other 2 ways would get you to 23H2. So I tried it again on Wednesday, same thing. And we did the show and I talked about it.
Yeah. And
Thursday
somebody in the Discord said they were getting 23H2, but it's like
not from that thing they weren't.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, we know that now because after I tried it once a day, 3 days in a row, finally, and not Microsoft, by the way. Now, to my knowledge, this company has never officially confirmed this, but a gentleman from Microsoft, Gabe Frost, was nice enough when asked on Twitter, what's going on with this? It looks like it's 22H2. He checked into it, and sure enough, it's 22H2 and will be for about 2 more weeks. Actually, for now, it's going to be about 1 more week.
What?
This is information that would have saved me a few days of work. Thanks, Microsoft. If you go to that page that I talked about, if you Google the phrase I said, and you go to the download Windows 11 page, you'll see at the top very clearly says the latest version, the current release is version 23H2.
Huh.
Right.
But all the tools you can get on that page do not give you that version. Most of them do, but one of them doesn't.
Right.
So sometime around the 15th, there will be an update to the MCT, as I'll call it, the media creation tool that will bring that up to 23H2. I can't wait for it to appear. I guess I could have done this as a tip today, but I'll just say this now. If you need the installation media, download the ISO instead and use a tool like Rufus to create a bootable Windows 11 setup media.
Parallels is running the installation assistant and is installing Windows. What do you think I'm going to do?
So the reason they're doing that is because they customize the install for you. Because one of the options, in fact, the default, it's very hard not to do this, is it will just install it for you. Normally you step through it and you fill things out, and it's doing that for you.
Right.
And what it's creating for you is a local account that you don't have to sign into, because most people just want to run the apps, right? The idea is
the coherence.
Once you've got this thing installed, you hide it and you start just running the apps you need. That's it,
that
right?
Makes sense.
So that's the way they do things. It's kind of streamlined.
Okay. That's cool.
What does it say? Okay. So, you'll be up and running.
Going through something.
Yeah, you're going to be pretty
quick. I gotta say, it didn't. There it is. It didn't take
Windows.
Bing, bing.
Oh yeah. Oh no, this is the out of box experience. So actually, okay, I was thinking we'd not even see this. So let me see what it does here, because usually this is a several step process where you sign in and do things. And I don't recall ever doing this with Parallels. So let me see what happens.
You're just making me want to buy a Mac.
No, you don't. Come on. I bet it'll run pretty swiftly, however.
Oh, I think it's going to run great.
Yeah.
Well, I think we were offline when we said this, or not recording, but I have a base model, 8 gigabyte M1 MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Parallels runs Windows 11 fantastically. That is not a powerful machine by today's standards,
Yeah. Not in the M series anyway.
No.
Kind of the basic M1.
Yeah, literally. I mean, it's the 2-port model, the old 13-inch. They don't even make it.
High. It's going to say high, isn't it?
I think it might. If it does, that sort of explains it, because it did. Yeah. So there you go. Like I said, I don't recall
getting things ready for you. Oh yeah.
Normally you have to step through a bunch of stuff to get to this point.
We're getting things ready for you now. Here you go.
So because you have a Mac, you can't type Windows key plus anything easily or at all, because Control Escape will work for start, but it won't work for. No. Wait, I'm sorry. It maps a key, doesn't it? So
okay, I have the cursor.
You don't want that.
So,
once it gets to the desktop.
Okay.
Well, once it gets to the desktop.
Yeah.
Try the Option key first. See which keys launches start, if any. Actually, maybe none do. You know what? You don't need that. I'm sorry. We can just do it. We'll do it differently.
All right.
This is going to be a little different because you can't right now actually use like Alt-Tab to switch over to Copilot, which is I think they're going to fix. You can launch it with Windows key plus C, but you'll see it. You'll probably get the desktop, so you'll be able to just click on it. Plus, you can see what the version number is and so forth.
Right. Well, we'll see. As soon as
it's
almost there. I hear that.
No, it's there.
It's there.
That actually means it's there.
Oh, look.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
But first,
access files. Yeah, installation complete. Click to continue. This is just
Parallels.
It's just doing my Parallels thing. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sign in, and then it's going to say you're running this somewhere else, and I'm going to say screw it, turn it off over there. I don't want to buy another license fee.
I was surprised. I think we talked about this a few months ago. I was surprised to discover that most Parallels users don't use coherence mode, which is where you just hide the desktop and run apps
because then you
side
can just
by
run
side.
a simple app.
To me, that's the point of it. I mean,
now use it just like you would on a PC. Next.
All right. So I see that you do not have Copilot for starters. So it looks like you might have 22H2.
Windows key X.
You still have chat. Yeah.
I don't know.
Which you might not be able to do. Actually, just do this. Open Windows, open the start menu rather, and type in run.
Oh, yeah, that thing.
Or no, don't do that. I'm sorry. Type in WinVer. Just type
WinVer.
WinVer.
There we go. And it is 22H2.
Yeah.
But this is WOA, right?
What's the
22?
No, but you can upgrade it. That's fine.
.1702 2260.
So just
if he goes to Windows Update now.
Yeah, settings, Windows Update, and see what you get.
Okay,
you probably have to do a set of updates first, and then reboot, and then I bet you're offered 23H2.
Check for updates. Nice. It does seem to be. Oh, I have a problem.
You don't have to activate it to do this.
All right, I won't. I'll do it later. Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about
Check for updates. I do have a key.
You have to activate if you want to do something like use a cute wallpaper. But if you want to just update it, no.
It's update for Windows Security Platform, cumulative update 22H2. It's all 22H2 so far. Should I get the latest updates as soon as they're available?
I think you should. Yeah, let's slipstream that. Sure.
Yeah. And that's it, right? You don't want me to go into insiders.
No.
Download and install all.
And then I know, like 2 weeks from now, you get like, but Paul, you told me to join the Canary channel. I'm like,
we have a recording now, so you can. Say,
I don't remember that.
You can say, Let's check the tape. You can do like they do on those progressive ads. Get the instant replay official in here. All right, so I'll let this go.
Okay.
And I'll let you know. But that was interesting. So it's Windows on ARM. But it's 22H2, which I am now upgrading, and presumably will be 22.
So that tells me they're probably getting the ISO internally, like they got, then they customize it. Maybe they're just not done.
Oh, you think I'm getting it from Parallels?
I think that's my guess, without actually knowing. That would be my guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting.
Because that thing you just did where you didn't have to step through the out of box experience is that means it was automated in some way. So that tells me that that's almost certainly the case.
The thing that's interesting is this is Windows running on a MacBook, and it doesn't feel in any way like it's not native.
Well, the way you have, and by the way, go up to the menu there, and you won't want to do this for now because actually you want to see Copilot, but you could just turn off the whole desktop, right? And
and do coherence.
Those Windows apps will be next to each other and next to Mac app. It looks fine.
Yeah. See, here's my iCloud Drive, Mac, so I can see the folders and everything. And if I do an Alt Tab, that's running on the Mac. Yeah. So, and then I can go full screen.
Coherence is cool.
If I want.
I don't remember the keys on the Mac, but
full screen Windows. Windows switch to coherence. I know.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't, and But the multitasking is totally integrated into the Mac system. It's nice.
Yeah.
You could run a Windows app full screen and kind of 3-finger swipe over to it, or however it is you guys do that stuff.
That's Windows full screen, and now I'm in the Mac. Full screen?
Nice.
Mac. Let's just see real curious how the CPU usage is on here. Pretty nothing.
It's just going to laugh. It's going to chuckle knowingly.
Did you want something? I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there something wrong? Because we're just handling it.
We're just humming along here. It is using all the RAM, though, which makes sense.
Oh, nice. Well, okay. Yeah. But that's interesting. So that's virtualization. But hopefully the Mac has a dynamic memory system now, right?
It's got plenty of memory. I wanted to use all the RAM. I think there are settings, as I remember in Parallels, to say, no, you're a 16 gig machine. You're not a 64 gig machine. But for right now, that's fine. Let's close this. And we're just running Windows Update still. Okay. Look at that. Look at there. And this is a Mac app, and this is Windows. This is the coherence mode you were talking about. All right, enough of me. Enough about me. What about you? How about you?
I think it looks
you
great.
Think of me.
Yeah.
What did we lose in 22H2? I mean, going to 23H2. What did we lose anything?
What did we lose?
Yeah, have we lost anything? Should we worry about that?
I mean, just a little tiny chunk of our soul, really. No, I mean, we'll get to some deprecated things, but they're not major features. We know about some things that might be deprecated in the future, or I guess technically are deprecated, would just be removed in the future. Mm-hmm. But nothing major. Here's one thing, actually. If you open File Explorer, which Microsoft promotes for some reason as being modernized, that modernized word comes from the fact that part of the UI has been what used to be UWP technology, XAML Islands really, but and it was replaced with WinUI, which doesn't change the user experience in the slightest, except for one thing: the address bar is all new, and you can't drag and drop files to it anymore. So that's kind of a bummer. But you have to drag into the files area of the window. You can't do it right up to the address bar. The way that feature worked before is kind of cool because you could move it to exactly the place in the path where you wanted it to go. It's actually kind of a nice thing. Of course, if you were fumble fingered, you would probably drop the file in the wrong place and then never find it again. But that's part of the fun of using Windows. I suspect they'll bring that feature back at some point. It's sort of like the taskbar. Remember when the original Windows 11 taskbar came out? It was all brand new from scratch, and it was missed some stuff. And I think that's what we're seeing again with File Explorer. So we'll get there, kids. Don't worry. It's all good. It's not all good, but it's mostly good. I like Windows 11. And you will too, whether you want to or not.
You will too.
Yeah. This just happened as we started the show, but there's a new Canary build out today. Nothing Windows 12 in there. Sorry. Just some, although
Microsoft never said Windows 12, never said it even once.
I know. That's true. This, they're obviously testing features that are going to make their way into Windows 11 at some point, right? And this is all just low level stuff. This kind of ties into some of the stuff we were talking about last week. Actually, it's all SMB, by which I mean small message block. I think
small message block, yeah,
server message block. Excuse me. As opposed to small business is how I read SMB, yeah. But this is the old networking protocol that has been around in Windows forever.
Ned Pyle's nemesis, SMB. Well, SMB 1. I mean,
right. Yeah, which they're exercising from Windows as we speak.
Now. Yeah. The problem is that you lock out SMB 1 on your network and you find out, hey, that printer over there?
Yeah. That NAS you're using, or that's on some out-of-date Linux firmware thing. Yeah. Yep. But it's got to go. This stuff is it's like NetBIOS and NTLM. I mean, these are terms I don't
very
think about it anymore. Yeah. Actually, I think about them in one place. When I go to the Mac and I want to use a file share on a Windows device, I type in SMB : / and whatever the address is. And
I think you're about it, man. I don't know if there's anybody else left that would do that, but
okay. Well, it's fun being old.
I did a show with Ned not that long ago on Run As about SMB with over Quick. And that's supposed to be the SMB you could expose to the internet. Like,
oh God, please.
Security is very robust. Like, serious.
Wasn't WebDAV almost that? Wasn't WebDAV a web safe way to get in and out of a network? I think so.
All attempts to get past FTP, just like, please, please save me. Oh, yeah. SMB over Quick is pretty compelling, and you can lock it down as hard as you want to lock it down. Like, you can say only a machine with this cert can read it. Like, they can be plenty robust. And the fact that it just maps into File Explorer and other tools to just be a share, it's pretty compelling.
Okay. Well, that is part of this Canary build that we're referring to. So, which there you go.
SMB everywhere.
They're modernizing SMB, and you said it couldn't be done.
Yeah, one would argue it's a contaminated name, right? Just because it has so much technology associated with it. But,
there was a whole weird transition there too with Linux, because Linux at one point only supported one of the older SMB versions and not the newer, and that had it. That was. It's all. I think we're all there. I think we're in better shape today.
Oh no, I got my Synology NFS share to work against my Home Assistant media client, and I'm delighted. Right. So no SMB for me.
I don't know. My out-of-date unsupported WD NAS is on some older version of SMB as well, but I'm going to be replacing that hopefully soon.
Oh, yeah, but it's remarkably archaic. Like when I got it running, I'm like, why?
Yeah, but when software is insecure, it's amazing how quickly it runs.
Yeah,
when you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
it makes it so much simpler, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's part of the appeal. It's just, but it works really fast. Yeah. No, it's working fast for the hackers who are downloading all your content as well. But
take all those layers away. Who needs the layers?
It's fast for everybody. You'll notice for some reason there are 300 people on your server.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we talked last week about Microsoft was deprecating 2 apps, Windows Maps and Movies and TV, from an older and I think this might even be in the Canary channel, if I'm not mistaken. So that suggests that in the future, actually it doesn't suggest, they said explicitly in the future, these apps will not be installed by default anymore in Windows 11. Maps app, who cares? I mean, once they lost the phone, I think the viability of that thing kind of went away.
Being problematic. Yeah.
Yeah. Movies and TV's a little more nuanced. Obviously, there's a more modern media player app, which isn't horrible, kind of based on Groove, but it has the video playback stuff as well. The one feature it doesn't have, I don't think, is the ability to play or stream content from the store that you purchased. That's the kind of the purpose of movies and TV. So I think I said this last week. You can look for an update there on the media player app. I wouldn't be surprised if they add that. Movies and TV also integrates with the Movies Everywhere, Movies Anywhere service, which is if you buy stuff on iTunes or Google or wherever else, and you can connect the accounts on the back end and use the app you want to view those movies that were made by studios that participate in this program, which in my collection is about 2/3 of them. So most of the movies I bought are actually from Apple, and they show up in this app, and Microsoft. It's kind of nice. So hopefully that will be coming to Media Player as well. We will see. But Microsoft also maintains a page on Microsoft Learn, I believe now, that is for features that's removed and deprecated in various versions of Windows. And they haven't documented yet, or at least last time I checked, anything that they've removed, but they did document 3 features that were deprecated in Windows 11 version 23 H2, which to my knowledge, we didn't know about before. And they are very much related to that SMB topic we're discussing. Right. They're all low-level, antiquated kind of
old protocols,
networking protocols.
Yeah. Right.
Computer browser is hilarious. Depending on which Microsoft source is that the right one? Nope, sorry, that's the third one. Sorry, not this one. But that dates back to Windows NT. That's 30 years ago, right? Yep. It's been around there for a long time.
There's two folks out there still using it are really annoyed now, right?
Yep. They previously removed support for SMB1. We were just talking about that in Windows 10, and then eventually in Windows 11 as well. There's the WebDAV service. Actually, I just mentioned this is why it was in the back of my brain. That dates back to Windows Vista. That's hilarious. So no longer started by default. They really learned their lesson from UPnP. That's hilarious. And then remote mail slots. And I have to say, I've never heard of this term before.
And now you want to use it.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. It's a dated, simple, unreliable, and insecure IPC, interprocess communications protocol that was first introduced in MS-DOS.
It's so funny because that's what Lisa called me last night. Dated, insecure,
like an
unreliable.
IPC protocol.
Yeah.
It's how C3PO would rip on R2D2. It's like the ultimate insult.
You're dated, unsecure, and unreliable.
Yep. So there you go.
Awesome.
Anyway, not a big deal, right? That File Explorer thing I mentioned will probably impact way more people. So there's that. And then in addition to those 2 apps I mentioned earlier, Maps and Movies and TV, Microsoft today just announced that the Windows Tips app is being deprecated. And I'm actually really surprised by that. There was a moment there where this was going to be the thing that popped up when you first installed a new version of Windows, or you install the feature update or whatever, and it would say, hey, this is what's new. This is what Chrome OS does, for example, right? It's not a horrible idea. And I guess nobody uses it. So, and I guess they're going to get rid of it. I'm a little surprised by this. So we'll see what they do there. They're going to have to replace it with something. I think it's important to have some way to communicate with the user base, especially when there are changes that impact them, right? I think so. We'll see. We'll see what they do. Maybe it'll be a Copilot thing. There'll be a little sidebar that pops up and says, "Hey, guess what's up?" And you're like, "Is that Clippy?" I get like a PTSD situation going. All right, and okay, that's most of that. I don't normally talk about the laptops review.
Yeah.
But I did want to briefly discuss the HP Spectre Folding PC. Because it speaks to a number of things that are happening.
It's on my list, right? Like,
yeah, so I think you would find it uncompelling from a performance perspective. I will just say that. It is a 9-watt U-series processor. Okay. So they were trying to hit a very specific power management,
$5,000.
Yeah, right. So there's that a little problem, right?
Yeah.
These displays are expensive. But I do think we've kind of reached the point in the phone business where this is clearly, a very compelling product for a lot of people. It's going to get more and more popular over time as prices come down.
Big difference between a 5-inch folder and a 17-inch folder.
Yeah. Well, here's what's cool about it. So in laptop form, it's like a 12.5-inch laptop. So it's like barely acceptable. It is a full-size keyboard, reasonably sized screen, et cetera, et cetera. It works. You're in a cramped little airline thing and you can get work done. It's good. When this thing unfolds, it's hard not to exclaim out loud. It's like a circus tent, and even though it's only 17 inches compared to say 16 for a big laptop, it seems bigger still somehow.
Right.
There's something about it. And it just kind of, it's a gorgeous screen. The keyboard, you separate the keyboard, you can connect it if you want with a wire, but it's Bluetooth. It works, it keeps working. It has a built-in touchpad. That stuff all works great. It really, that in that situation, it's neat. It is, I know a lot of people say, I can dock any laptop and I can have an external display and all that stuff. And you can, but this is like having a smallish desktop computer with you wherever you go, because the thing opens up. You're like, whoop, it's like, it's
but
with you. It's neat.
The thing that matters is that seam with that fold point. How does it look when it's unfolded?
Yep. So this is, and they describe it this way, is this, when you're straight on, you can't see it. There's no,
you've got to look for it. Then you got to wiggle around.
You can see the reflection of it if you get over to the sides. But if you're looking right at it, it disappears. And I mean that in every set, like it's gone. The thing that's amazing, well, here's the two big points. And this is why I wanted to discuss this. These are the two big points. Everyone's looking for the next form factor. What are we going to have? Lenovo earlier this year came up with a dual screen device, the Yoga Book 9i, I think it was called.
Which is also very pretty.
But it's impractical. And really, the two screen thing works best when the screens are on top of each other, which is not really the way I think most people with dual screens use displays. It also did not nail the laptop form factor. In fact, that is in that form, in that mode, or whatever you want to call it, that device was hugely inefficient. It was very bad. It was too thick. You're too high up. It's the keyboard, it wasn't great. Didn't have a touchpad. So you could have a situation where you have a keyboard, but you're still touching the screen like an idiot.
Yeah.
And it just didn't get it. And so the first of the 2 points was HP got that right. Like that, the lap, they were like, and they said this, the keyboard thing had to be right. Mm-hmm. And it, as a laptop, it is a good laptop. They nailed the basics. I think that's important, right? That's how we can't go to the future unless we, cover the today or whatever. But it's the screen thing, obviously, right? That does it. And here's the thing. So we're at this reviewers workshop a month and a half ago. HP is going on and on. And I mean, they're just droning on and on about the hinge. They're passing it around the room. We want everyone to see the hinge. You got to see the hinge. We did so much testing on this hinge. The hinge is incredible. The hinge is going to last as long as any hinge we've ever made for a normal laptop. So you never have to worry about that. And so
none of us have ever thought about a hinge until you brought it up.
Exactly. So 10 minutes into this, someone finally raises their hand and says, yeah, okay, but what about the screen? And the guy was like, the screen? He says, yeah, like what about, how long is the screen going to last? And he goes, oh, that's going to last longer than the computer. You don't have to worry about the screen. And it was such an afterthought.
Wow.
Right? That I think it speaks to the maturity of this technology. That
the question is it true?
Okay. Right. I know. We're going to find out, that's going to be the thing. So when I say the future of the PC, I mean, literally the future. It's not today. It's too expensive. And obviously.
No, some of us are less price sensitive too. The question is it any good? Like, what are you getting for $5,000?
Yeah. So the argument here is that what you're getting is 3 devices in one, right? It's not a 2-in-1. It's like a 3-in-1. And the 3 devices are a laptop, a tablet, a really big tablet, by the way, and a desktop. Yep. And I would have a hard time spending that much money on those 3 devices, would be one thing to say to that. Another thing to say to that would be, I don't buy those 3 devices at the same time. So I don't, another one would be, I don't actually use all 3 of those devices. I only need 2, maybe, right? A laptop and a desktop, maybe, or whatever.
Well, listen, then I don't know.
There's all kinds of things you could say.
Tablet, like that's just too big. So but that one's kind of a laugh.
Yeah. Very interesting. And again, I to me, it really is the expense, and that's a temporary condition. And then we'll see what the reliability of the screen of this size. But
the whole question here is it expensive because the tech is that expensive, or is it expensive because they plan on replacing them when those seams get messed up? just building into the price. Oh yeah, you're going to have to swap that a couple of times.
We have to sort of speculate. From what they say, it's the expense, And I would remember when the Surface Studio first came out, and it was essentially a laptop with a gigantic, beautiful display.
Yes.
And it was so expensive. I don't remember the exact $3,000, $4,000.
But it also had that articulating screen, like you could lay it down and
so sweet. Yeah.
But what everyone said to this was, okay, but we don't want the computer, we want the screen. I want to add that screen.
Never sold
right.
it.
And what their response to that at the time was, you don't understand. The screen would be $500 less than the computer.
Right.
It's this the expense is the screen.
Yeah. I do understand, and sell it to me anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're ever going to see that now, unfortunately.
It might be.
I think it is the screen.
Yeah. I mean, I know when you do these big 5K screens, you have to have separate. Apple had all this separate processing on their 5Ks. So it really is a computer. I wish they'd let us attach a better computer to that screen, because
that's the
such
point.
A low power computer.
Given the repairability stuff with Surface, actually, we're going to talk about.
I still have that Studio. I still have it. Nobody wants it.
But I mean, if they were to make that computer today, it would be more upgradable, more repairable. I mean, the thing at the time was mostly probably a closed box. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. Like, what could you actually replace in one of these things yourself? It's probably next to nothing.
Right.
But it's also just interesting to think through the workflows of that sort of draft table angle.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Oh,
I've played with taking my 43-inch 4K, which I adore, like my and there's different classes of work where it's like, I need 4 1080p screens at the same time, please. And that's what that thing delivered. Full scale 4K. But then put a 32-inch 1080p touchscreen down in this sort of draft board position.
Yeah, bring it up to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have a touchscreen that's closer to you, up to a larger screen above. And then you have a mechanical keyboard and a tray underneath that. So when you really need to
I'm compulsive in a way I bet a lot of people watching or listening to this are as well. And so one of the things I don't like about touch displays is that you can touch them. And one of the things I wouldn't like about this display that you're describing is that I would want it to always go back to exactly where it was. Yeah. And I would have a hard time getting it there, I sat down, my nephew was here for 3 weeks when we were gone. And I sat down in front of this computer and I was like, monitor's different, and I just, I don't know. It'd be neat if it was like a power seat in a car where there were, you could press number 1 and it goes to that upright thing exactly the way it was. And you press number 2 and it goes, that'd be
all the repositioning.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens with Surface. I mean, they've obviously scaled back. I don't know if we're going to see external displays. Remember, one of the unique things about Surface for a while is it was going to all be 3x2 screens, right? Which is unusual and cool and kind of a neat form factor or whatever. But for them to do an external display, it seemed like it should be 3x2. But now they have a bunch of devices that aren't 3x2. They're kind of going in a different direction. Maybe honestly, 16x10 is better for a traditional laptop, whatever. Is there a need for this thing I always thought they were going to do? Because Surface Studio, I'm sure it was 3x2, right? What we wanted was that 3x2, 3000 by 2000 pixel display, right? That was the point of it.
That's what we're after, was the high, give me as much resolution as I can lay my hands on. Mm-hmm. That's what I care about.
And I don't know. I just don't see them doing it now. I wish they would. I always thought they should, but anyway. Yeah. So between AI, which will be kind of the plumbing part of it, and then these kind of potential new form factors. I mean, there's an interesting future to be had for the PC perhaps here, right? I mean, it's kind of cool.
This is a neat PC, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's just super expensive, but it's cool. It doesn't work with any, that picture there is me trying to use it on my laptop stand, which would work until I started typing and it would slide right off of it because it's not, designed
There's
for that.
There's a detached keyboard though somewhere, right?
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
That works great.
Yeah.
And it's a full-size keyboard and with a trackpad. It's nice.
Right. Good review, Thurrott.com, if you want to read it.
Yeah.
Let me take a little tiny, teeny, weeny break. Teeny, 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 tiny little break, and then we will continue if you would like, if you would want. I am. I'd show you this. I think it's a parallels issue that I have to work on. I don't think it has internet access.
Yep.
Well, it says it doesn't. I did and then it won't say. It says I can't update anymore. So I don't know. I don't get what's going on at all.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, let's look at that.
I think it looks like for some reason after I did the Windows update, I lost Wi-Fi.
Oh.
And so I'm not sure what's going on, because when I went,
Windows 11 is so powerful it can screw up your Mac's connectivity. I love it.
Well, no, the rest of the Mac is okay, but you see it says not connected.
So yeah, right-click the networking icon down there in the bottom right, and should be right-click. Sorry, and then troubleshoot something probably.
Diagnose.
Yeah. This will open
to open this MS Contact support link.
Oh, that's not good. Then don't do that. No, don't do that. All right. So,
well,
in the upper left of the,
no.
In the file. It's like there's no network adapter there at all. That's what that's saying.
Yeah, and I think that's
it doesn't see it.
I have probably to set that up in parallel.
Okay, yeah, maybe it could be a VM
Except
setting.
That we know that I had it before because I wouldn't have been able to download and install. So I'm very confused. It's probably a parallels thing.
You could, if you want to try this, right-click the Start menu.
You know how I knew this? Because when I went to my widgets, it said I can't look at widgets.
That's how you know the computer's screwed up.
Yeah.
Right-click it. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Choose Device Manager. This will tell you if there's a networking device that doesn't have drivers or
something
bad
like
drivers.
that. It must be, right?
So it's clean. So look for network.
Network adapters.
Yeah, expand that.
Parallels and virtual Ethernet adapter. Which somehow
then you should have connectivity.
Right? Yeah.
So that means you could try troubleshooting. Then go to.
I'll just restart. It's not a.
Okay.
When that always works, right? Doesn't it?
Yep.
Shut down Windows. Okay. Bye Windows. See, maybe that's it. It didn't have security permission from the Mac. The one thing about the Mac these days is every app has to get permission to access even folders. It's really changed a lot.
I think it's important to keep Windows in line, so I'm glad to hear it's doing that.
Yeah. Sorry. Hey, our show today brought to you by another show, which is interesting, called Traceroute. You might be interested in this show if you're interested in AI. The Traceroute podcast is entering its third season. Their two-part season opener of the award-winning Traceroute podcast is all about artificial intelligence. Is AI our friend? Is it our worst enemy? That's the focus. Don't miss out on this and other ways we can peel back the layers of the stack and reveal the humanity in the hardware. Traceroute is all about, the humanity, the people behind the hardware that shapes our digital world. And in every episode of Traceroute, a team of technologists seeks to untangle the complex question of who shapes the internet. Seasons 1 and 2 were all about, the inner workings of technology and the human element behind it. Season 3 tackles not just AI, but also how can we use technology to preserve the earth? Who influences the technology that gets made? What happened to the flying cars we were promised, and a lot more. It's a lot of fun. It just started November 2nd. You haven't missed a thing. Brand new season of Traceroute. Traceroute. You can look for it on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Traceroute. We've mentioned this before. It's a really great little podcast. Season 3 just launching. All about AI. We don't need no intelligence here. We've got Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell. That's
artificial or otherwise.
Artificial or otherwise. That's it. That's what we need, boys and girls. Apple and Qualcomm quarterly earnings are in.
Yeah, it's
anything
earnings
to say about
season,
that? It is that time of year. Yeah.
Yeah. Apple's doing great. I know you worry about this company, but honestly, I think they're going to be okay.
Can anything save Apple?
Yeah, the iPhone. I mean, there's a story to be told here, right? This notion of a one product company, kind of like Google is with ads, Yeah. The iPhone is about almost 50% of their revenues now. That's down quite a bit. But when you think about the stuff that makes up the Slack services, especially, that's all iPhone, isn't it? Really? I mean, it's, direct and indirect revenues. I mean, I bet I don't know. What did I actually calculate it? About 84% of Apple's revenues come in some way from the iPhone. It's this incredible
kind of amazing,
economic engine. Yeah. The iPhone did not by itself make as much revenues as Microsoft did, for example, but it was pretty close. And when you think about the overall iPhone ecosystem, I mean, that device by itself is as big as a Microsoft. I mean, it's incredible. It's just incredible. Mac sales fell dramatically badly in the quarter by 33.8%, which is kind of interesting. But I assume last year they must have released those M2 Macs. That was
there was this big bump, and now it's down from the big bump.
And they released the M3s, like the one you bought a little bit later in the year.
Yeah, those are not in. I mean, this literally came yesterday. This is
coming quarter,
next quarter, and that's typically Apple's big quarter is the holiday quarter. So that'll be the test. It is interesting to note that services growth, especially now that we know from the Google versus DOJ trial that $18 billion of it is Google.
Right. I know.
Significant portion comes from Google paying Apple to please keep Google our search engine.
Who is it? Jeffrey Fowler writes for the Washington Post, and he was.
Jeffrey. Yeah,
I really like him a lot. Yeah. Although he did go off the deep end a little bit about the Google AI stuff and photos and the pixel. But I do like the guy quite a bit, and it's worth reading what he wrote today about what does this say? This wasn't the whole point of the article, but what does it say about Apple when they talk about privacy and how important everything that you do on your iPhone stays on your iPhone, and but you're being paid like $20 billion to keep Google as the default search engine. I mean, doesn't that somewhat undermine your claims? And it's something. It's a discussion to be had. But anyway,
it is a discussion.
Apple's doing great. That's my only point. So the Mac, we'll see. I think the Mac this quarter there'll be a nice.
I did see an article on Windows Central that said now that we have the M3s, that Qualcomm was right to kind of promote the speeds of their chips, because the early Geekbench tech tests of the Qualcomm chips do show that performance is better than the base model M3, which that's I guess.
I just look. The
price.
This is a personal pet. Yeah, right. My pet peeve is benchmarks can be contorted to mean anything.
Especially from the company, I mean, these aren't independent.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you could literally optimize a chipset to do well in a benchmark, right? So it's really about real world. I'm not claiming that the Macs don't perform well in the real world. That's not what I mean. What I mean is you could have a chipset like the Tensor and the Google Pixels that does not look good on paper at all compared to any whatever Snapdragon processor. But if you use one of those phones, for the most part, day to day, like this thing is fine. Like it works fine. Like you don't think about it, right? So whatever Qualcomm is doing, it needs to work that way. The problem is it never has, right? When you use something and you immediately notice how bad it is, right? That's a problem. And that's what the Qualcomm chipsets have been like on the PC so far. So we'll see. I hope that's true. I really do. I want this thing to succeed. I want ARM to take off in the PC space. I think it's necessary because as soon as it does, that's when we're all going to move to RISC-V anyway, and then it'll be another 20 years. It'll be great. Welcome to my world. Anyway, I do think it's important.
Yeah.
And then speaking of Qualcomm, they were the other company, and of course this one.
Not a great quarter.
No, but it's very interesting. This mirrored Intel's earnings report so closely. It was just kind of amazing. So 24% revenue drop year over year, which is astonishing, right? Not good. Their core business is the chipset business, as I call it. They mostly make chipsets for businesses, for smartphones rather. 5.45 of the 8.6 billion came from this company. That's down 27% year over year. Okay. But like Intel, they say we're already seeing stabilization and we expect growth ahead. So they're already saying that this quarter is going to be better than they had predicted previously. Their stock went flying up. That's what Wall Street wants to hear. So the smartphone market, like the PC market exactly, has been in decline for about 2 years. So we're already seeing major indicators. We saw it from Microsoft, remember, in their earnings. We saw it in Intel from theirs. There's the PC market is about to at least stabilize, if not grow. So we hope for growth, obviously, but it's nice to finally hear that, because in the past, it's always been in the future, and now they're saying, oh no, it's happening right now. So that's good.
Richard, I didn't notice you're wearing a poppy.
Yeah. It's a Canadian thing, really an English thing. Flanders Fields, poppies grow.
Yeah. It's Veterans Day 11/11, right? So you you prepare for that. I loved that when I was in Canada. Everybody wore a red paper poppy on their lapel. And we don't do it in the States, and I wish we would, because I think it's a very nice
You know what? Okay,
tradition.
So this is a weird thing for this podcast. I'll just say, walking around Mexico City in Mexico, we notice that the society there is very different from ours in the United States. And I have all my theories about it, right? But I think this theory I have about the United States also covers this difference between us and Canada, which is you're never going to get us on the same page like
about
you
anything.
can in other countries.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like you're never going to get us to agree on anything.
We used to.
And I know. And yes. And it's part of the individual focused nature, the, American dream thing. Like we're just so individualistic. I mean.
Yeah. James Callahan, who's in Vegas, says, yeah, we wear red poppies. Maybe in Vegas they do. I haven't seen any around here. And I don't even know where I would get one. But I remember in Canada, they're all over. It's easy to get one, and same in
We do them as a fundraising drive for a charity.
Right.
You drop a loonie in the bin and you pick up a poppy. This one actually got an ink.
Oh, it's a nice poppy. If we had loonies, maybe we would have poppies. Maybe it's the lack of loonies.
Didn't you have a Sacagawea dollar coin?
We used to have all these great coins.
Only New Jersey Transit uses.
A loonie is a Canadian dollar coin, and it's because it has a loon on the back of it, the bird. And then we put a toonie.
2 polar bears, on the $2 coin, called it a toonie because that's fun.
Anyway, I think it's a nice commemoration. When Lisa and I were in London a few years ago during this time period, and they had filled the moat of the Tower of London with a poppy for every British soldier who died in World War I, and it was a lot of them. It was a river of poppies. It was quite both beautiful and, kind of awe-inspiring. So,
if you get to Washington, D.C. and you see the Vietnam Memorial.
That's something, isn't it? Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, it's not the same kind of numbers, but it's every name. Yeah. It's powerful.
55,000, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Every name on there. That was designed by my college classmate, Maya Lin. We were all very proud. I've lost the thread. Qualcomm revenue. Oh, let's talk about, I guess, Microsoft and Surface, I guess.
I think we talked about how they are allowing more and more of the components of a Surface computer to be repaired or replaced, right?
Yes.
Which is great.
Which is good, yes.
Yep. And this week they updated the support life cycle for these devices, at least for the newer ones, where they only previously promised 4 years of firmware and drivers for any given Surface. Now they're doing 6. And that's over and above the OS updates that you get through Windows, right? Specifically firmware updates.
It's, it's funny. We used to think a lot about drivers back in the day when we would add cards and peripherals to our systems.
Right.
We don't do that as much. Drivers are not as big a deal as they were, are they?
Yeah. So, Windows, we talk about this sometimes, comes with these class drivers, which kind of handle the basics for most devices. But actually, your drivers are updated quite a bit.
Oh,
they just happen kind of behind the scenes. Like this happens all the time. And it depends on your PC maker and your device, right? How you get those. But
well, I would also argue that Windows Microsoft themselves has taken control of a lot more of the drivers these days.
Yeah.
That, one of the arguments for the problems with Vista was a demand for a rewrite of video card drivers that destabilized the machine. And the fallout of that was a lot of those WMI drivers. It's like, this is the Windows standard driver made by Microsoft. And it may not have every feature on it, but by golly, it works. So we wanted reliable machines. We use those drivers.
Dave Cutler was interviewed right on YouTube. And I still have not watched the complete thing, but it's 3 hours long.
3 hours.
And he actually touches on this bit. There's a very famous bit of NT lore, which is history. It's true, where at some point they had to move the graphics drivers into the kernel space
for
performance reasons. And Cutler was dead set against this for all the obvious security reasons and so forth.
And he was right.
And he tells the story about how actually from a code perspective on Microsoft's behalf, making the switch was not a big deal at all. The problem was all the third-party drivers. And he tells a story about how they would bring them in one at a time and say, your drivers are crashing Windows all over the place. What's up? And they're like, oh, what are you talking about? Our drivers are great. And they're like, oh, really? Here's the data. And like, oh my God, like, they had no idea. And so, all these, the shift you're talking about really was the next big thing in that exact space, which was this move to, hardware accelerated graphics. And again, to date in the PC space, to that date, the only work really being done there was in the individual games, right? And so those guys had great drivers for Quake or whatever, but they didn't have great drivers for Windows.
Yeah, but there was the transitory technology was DirectX, right? It's like, okay, we can't fix Windows, but we'll give you this other driver you could use, so it'll run through Windows. You'll
it's like
DirectX.
The ultimate. That's a great example of hardware abstraction, which is the whole point of that's what the driver layer is in many ways, right? It's the hardware abstraction layer. You write to this thing instead of which I think is why base drive or class drivers work so well, right?
Well, that's the thing is nobody wants to think about them. Well, the big thing that's going on right now quietly is they're taking over all the printer drivers. It's just like the whole print nightmare debacle that was a huge security vulnerability that the print companies responded terribly to. Microsoft's like, I guess we just have to fix this. We're going to make class 4 drivers for all the printers, and you're gonna lose features, and you're going to stop selling ink unless you write a better one.
You could stop selling it, which sadly is and
this is exactly it. Like, what do I
maker for this market? Right?
Sitting over on the sysadmin world, like, what are we dealing with? It's like, I do not want messages to my users about buying ink. That's my job. Like, stop it. And so the fact that when Microsoft says, "Oh, we're going to make a class 4 driver for your printer," like, thanks. Now I'll just get ads for Copilot.
You'll get ads in Copilot, that's for sure.
Not that I'm sitting.
Good news. It was just I hadn't activated my parallels, so now I am. Now let's do update. I have a full access.
So this is on the Mac.
On the Mac.
Right.
Oh, I haven't activated Windows, but
it's okay.
I'll do that next.
Windows doesn't really care.
Windows don't care. See, now I have Ethernet, which is a virtualization.
Yep. Yeah, like Hyper-V does the same thing. Even if you're on Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Updates failed. Retry. Let's see. Because I really want 23H2.
Yeah. And ideally,
there's
that's
parity across Intel and ARM versions of Windows, pretty much.
For what?
For stuff.
for stuff. Updates? Yes.
Yeah. For, features and updates. And they're pretty the same now.
Yep. Although, actually, that's a good point because you cannot download Windows 11 ISO for ARM right now still. From that site I mentioned, actually. Now that you mention it,
still 22.
So you may have to.
I don't have an update.
Yeah, you might be stuck on there for a little while because it's. But
maybe I have to activate it. Do I have to activate it to?
No.
I think you're just going to be evaluated for whether or not you're going to be getting.
Do you deserve it?
Well, that's the thing. Like I said, it's supposed to be an enablement package. It's supposed to be instant.
Yeah,
and that's not been the experience.
Maybe
that was
middle
the point.
of the month. Maybe it will.
Everyone watching the show should have had this on Tuesday night.
Yeah,
last week, and that's not what happened.
But at least my widgets are here.
That works great.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's what I care about. Yeah. I got my widgets, and I did sign into my Microsoft account. So I know it was a local account, which is interesting that it signs in as a local account.
Yeah,
but now it's now I'm not. I just all I have to do really is get rid of this horrible wallpaper. Oh no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, just hide the whole thing. You can just
it's coherence. It's coherence. Yes, I bought a while ago. I saw a deal on some site. Big mistake. It said, "Hey, $40, you get 3 licenses of Windows 11."
Yeah.
That serial number does not work.
Oh no,
So-
come on.
So I get ripped off. So
That's
there you
not
have
good.
it. There you have it.
Call
I
it
wonder
testing.
about those deals. I've never tried that.
Don't do it, is my advice.
Well, I'm going to have to do something soon because, they killed the product key thing from
Right.
Windows 7 and 8.
Right.
When I used that exclusively, extensively,
You know what I did, though, that I loved it? When I signed in for my Windows account, I have the authenticator on my iPhone. It said, your number is 90. Press the button.
No password.
Bada
Yeah.
bing, bada boom. Love
So
that.
I assume a lot of the Microsoft guys, as I'll refer to you, are using Microsoft Authenticator, right?
Yes.
Because it's fantastic.
Yeah.
If you use it between consumer and work or school Microsoft accounts, right? You may have noticed some interesting differences between those accounts in the way that they authenticate you, right? Sometimes you're on your PC on a website or an app or whatever it is, and it pops up that thing and you have to go. Sometimes it gives you a number.
Yep.
And then you go to your app and you have to select the number from one of three numbers, right? But sometimes it kind of does this reverse thing.
I know. It's just type the number in.
The app gives you the number and then you have to type it in on the computer side or whatever, right? So I've been noticing this over the past month or so. Like this, they've been changing this up. It's kind of interesting. And then they just documented the fact that they're doing this on purpose. And it's because of something I had never heard of before, which I bet Richard has, which is MFA fatigue, which is hackers are getting people's credentials, but they can't get into the account because they can't do the 2FA or MFA prompt. So they send multiple they automate the sending of requests to get the person to finally be like, okay, fine, approve it, which is the stupidest thing you could ever do.
Yeah, but it works.
But it works because it works in the sense that it goes away. So you stop getting bothered and then you lose everything because
You don't have an account anymore. So that goes away too.
Exactly. So, it kind of solves all the problems really. But anyway, I'd never heard of this, but as soon as I read the description of it, I was like, oh yeah, no, I mean, I've seen this kind of thing before. Like I've actually seen this, so it's interesting. And so the way, what they did was they changed the way that Authenticator works. And they're not going to talk about how they figured this out. But if you imagine that I'm here in Pennsylvania and I've done something with my Microsoft account, and then 2 seconds later in Mexico City, which is maybe not a great example.
Yes.
There's some authentication attempt is made across my account. And they're like, no. And the one from Mexico City looks suspicious. So what's going to happen with that now is it doesn't pop up an alert anymore. So if it's you, because we've all done this, right? Have you ever done this? It says, okay, go to your app and get the, okay, the thing. And you look at your phone and nothing has happened. And you're like, where is it? And then you go into the app and then it pops up, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. They're basically hiding what they consider to be suspicious alerts for Authenticator.
Right. So you don't get bothered by them. But if you
when
are
it is
trying to authenticate, to go to the app anyway.
Exactly right. Yeah. Smart.
It's a great
sad. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I think anyone who uses this app will have noticed this.
Oh, and I must have told the story of a friend of mine who's a sysadmin who was literally on the phone with an older employee whose account was under attack.
Right.
And while they're going through that he's under attack, we're trying to lock things down, he gets an authenticator pop up, but the old one that just says, "Did you want to authenticate?" And he hit yes.
Right.
Because he always hit.
Yep.
And so, but that was really the number thing was an answer to that. If you can't see both sides of the deal, you can't answer correctly. So there's no way for him to say yes.
Good.
Right.
But you're looking at an arms race and a good one.
Right.
And again, I'm going to reference another run as like when I was talking to Alejo about the fact that MFA or phishing is no longer the number one exploit against users. It's now number two. The number one exploit is unpatched servers. And the reason it's bumped down to number two is MFA.
Right.
MFA has worked well enough that phishing is failing.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. Unpatched servers, like the big new Exchange 0 days that Microsoft says it's not a problem. Those are the problems, not falling for phishing, which also means people are using two-factor.
And there's a bunch of
it's still social engineering, right? It's just a different. They had to adapt for the system, but they're still going after the weakness, the real weakness in the system here, which is people. Right?
Yes, and they always do. But why did MFA do so well? Well, starting with Microsoft just saying, "Hey, if you're the administrator of a M365 tenant, you can simply hit a button that says everybody uses MFA now. But it's also part of cybersecurity insurance now. Like your insurance is void if you have not.
Exactly.
It's required, which is really disturbing when the CFO signed the agreement and didn't tell IT. Ask me how I know.
Right.
Those things happen. So, I mean, driving MFA up, but then the conversation went on about the unpatched servers was, the normal strategy now is that you get updates and you run them in your lab before you deploy them. And that lag represents a security risk. So it's, the conversation was just deploy the patch and deal with the consequences of it being a problem after the fact, because that's a lower risk than leaving the server unpatched. And that it's challenging because it's a business decision, because those quick application of patches could lead to visible outages.
Right.
And so it's like, you've got to go talk to the boss and say, hey, this is a preventative thing. It's the same way you change an exterior door to auto lock on close. It's a nuisance. You always have to use the key, but you do it because the risk is significant.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, turning this into an IT show, and it's a consumer show.
No. Actually, it's not a consumer show.
Because you mentioned that, I think I'm gonna let's bump over to something that was coming a little later, because this kind of ties into this. Because almost exactly 20 years ago, I think it was 21 years ago, Microsoft announced the Trustworthy Computing Initiative, right?
That was a letter from Bill in 2001, delayed .NET for a year.
And this topic comes up in that Dave Cutler interview we keep referencing, because he, the story there is they were updating the server branch of this tree with security updates, and the client guys who were doing XP and then were moving on to Longhorn were not. And the thing they shipped was the buggiest thing he'd ever seen in his life, which was XP, which was UPnP, which was all the attacks that would happen in the early 21st century there. And Microsoft finally had to say, look, we're not creating anything new now. We're going to reorganize here and do everything from a security first perspective, right?
And is it funny that our fond memories of XP are actually Service Pack 2?
That's right. That's 100% right. Yes, this is not a topic that's come up in a while, but yes, our fond memories of this thing are based on V2, and all the Windows NT/2000 diehards are like, I'm never switching to this Play School user interface.
That's right. It was Windows 2000 with the
right? Yep. There was a lot of carping, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, they're doing it again. Trustworthy computing was so much fun. And cybersecurity is such a problem now that they're doing a similar initiative, Microsoft, today, which is called the Secure Future Initiative, or SFI. And not Trustworthy Computing 2.0, the clouding, as I'd like to call it. But it's basically trustworthy computing, but for cyber security, right? For these cloud-hosted services and so forth. So,
and this is Charlie Bell, right? I mean, that's Charlie has. I jokingly said to the wrong people at one point, is identity the third rail of Microsoft? Like, isn't that where people's careers go to die?
Oh,
yeah. Because it's such a hard.
Not anymore.
Well, now the renaming to Entra, like these are all initiatives to reorganize these security problems, because they had gotten kind of lax. The security for complaining about the quality of the CVSs, about you're not really explaining what the problem is. Like, everything's getting a bit soft. It's good to have a refocus on this. They used to be the reference model. Like, you used to look at a Microsoft CVS and say, like, this is the right way to describe this.
Yeah, right. I feel like different parts of Microsoft were just doing things differently. I'm sure there were some baselines and some vague ideas of where things should be, but I think this is an attempt to bring it all in and say, look, we need a standard here for this, and
everybody needs it. Like, this is like, nobody's going to be unhappy. This is a good place to spend money, energy, and talent.
Yeah, and for all you people who love AI and don't worry about the hallucinations, you'll be delighted to know that a key component of it is AI, right? That hackers are going to be using
learning models.
Yeah, to kind of meet the threat at the same speed at which the threat is coming in, so to speak. So there you go. No. Let me just see here. Sorry. Yeah, so that's that. Okay. I don't want to drone on and on about this too much.
Please do.
But
I love it when you do.
Well, this is it's kind of parallel to the Microsoft world, right? So I had a really good experience with Google Drive through Workspace, right? And there is an interesting distinction to be made between Workspace and like a Gmail account for consumers, because they're different, right? And Microsoft tracks everyone everywhere doing whatever they're doing as much as they can. But when it comes to like a paid account, like on Google Workspace, actually, they don't look at your data. There's a lot. The rules are different, so it's kind of an interesting thing. So I've had a good experience there. But as a business owner now who has to deal with partners and whatever, a lot of the people I deal with use Slack. So I had to get a Slack. Yeah, no, it's okay.
Okay.
Or I thought it was okay until I started using it. So unfortunately, Slack's business model is chaotic evil is how I describe it. And they don't have transparent anything or predictable anything. And, like if I need to add an account on Google Workspace or Microsoft 365, any version, commercial, right? I do that as the business owner or the admin. Like I do that, and and then they tell me how much it costs, and I say yes, and I make the account, and then I pay that price, and I get billed every month, and that's how that works. It's interesting. Right. With Slack, it wasn't really clear how this was going to work. I paid for Slack up front for a year for myself, and then my wife had to get involved because she does some stuff on the back end, and she's dealing with one of our partners on the newsletter, and didn't say anything. It seemed like they added her to our little space. It seemed like it was fine. I have a coworker, Laurent, who writes the news, where we had to get off of Microsoft 365 because our old owner was paying for that. And I said, well, we're using Slack. I mean, I said, if I have to pay for Slack, I guess I will. And then I got a bill from Slack. So came out of the blue. No one said it was coming. No one said what to expect. Nothing. And I looked up their policies. I went back and forth with them. It took me 3 interactions with Slack to even understand why they were charging me. And I don't like the way they do business. I find they basically determine that someone is active. But the thing is, I never signed off on either of these people. I'm the one paying the bill. It's attached to my credit card. No one ever said, hey, this guy's on your Slack account. Do you want to pay for it? I'm paying for someone's account. Who he started his account 2 years ago, for all I know. It was long before we started using it. And now I'm paying for it because he's accessing my space. But it never told me that this was going to
company right? Like it's just
I've never seen anything like this.
Right.
And every time I go back and forth with them, the last time they took 6 days to get back to me.
Right.
They don't answer my question. And it's like I don't know. So look, I know everyone has their feelings about how different services work and which are better or worse or whatever. And I know there's the big tech Microsoft versus little guy Slack, who is part of Salesforce.
Little guy, they're part of Salesforce.
Whatever. I'm just saying. All I know is this, and I've always heard this. Richard knows this. He deals with the IT side a lot. Businesses need transparency, and they need predictability. And as a new owner of a small business, I know. Some bills are monthly and some are annual, and you want to make sure you're up on those. You want to know they're coming. And I got a $200 and whatever the price was in that bill from Slack, and it's like, what's this?
That's way too much.
That's an annual. That's a whole year of usage for people who might be in there for like a week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, first of all, you should have told me I was getting charged for this ahead of time. Give me a chance to say no. But secondly, what happens when they go away? Here's what happens. I found out you don't get your money back. They don't send you a credit card refund.
Get a Salesforce account.
You get credits, Slack credits. What? What? No. So I'm still fighting this one. I'm just saying.
You add a user, you automatically bill you for a year. They leave in a week, and you keep the money.
Wow.
I'm going to give the Microsoft guys in the audience. I'm going to give you guys a win, because here's a win. So that's how Slack does it. They just start charging you. Someone just joins your thing and they start charging. They don't tell you. That's cute. On Google Workspace, I have the lowest end Google Workspace. It's a Google Workspace Business Junior Edition. I don't even know what it's called. Basic or something, or whatever it is. $6 per user per month, right?
Right.
used to be able to buy storage like you can as a consumer when you needed it for an individual. As of October 5, you can no longer do that. So what do they have? Well, they have pool storage for your organization. Neat. 30 gigabytes of cloud storage per user. Okay. I need a terabyte. Well, how do I get to a terabyte? Oh, we have a pooled storage subscription. Oh, neat. How much is that? $300 a month. You get 10 terabytes of storage. And I'm like, I don't need 10. I need 1. No, we don't have that.
For $300, you can buy a handful of terabytes drive.
I know. So it literally says in their help system, it's probably going to be make more sense for you just to upgrade your subscriptions. Well, what I want to do is upgrade one of my accounts, to a business non-junior, whatever it's called, standard. That gets 2 terabytes of storage. Perfect. It's double the price. It's $12 per user per month, but that's fine. I for one account, I have no problem doing that. I can't do that. You know why? Because I have the junior version. I can't mix and match SKUs.
Right. You have to.
I would have to upgrade all of them, and I have 5 accounts, and I'm not doing that. Now, here's the win. In Microsoft space, your Microsoft 365 commercial account, I do. I'm a business of 1. Right now I have the lowest end account. I think it's called Business Basic. It is $6 per user per month. You get a terabyte of cloud storage, by the way, and no access to downloadable Office apps. I don't need them. I get them elsewhere. That's fine. But if I wanted to, I could add a second account, and it could be any kind of account. I could add a business standard, a business, whatever they're called, right? At whatever cost. You can mix and match SKUs. Anyone can do this.
Why wouldn't you?
I don't know. It seems like the right thing to do. So anyway, here we have Slack is horrible. Google's better, but not perfect. And actually, in this case, I got to say Microsoft does it right. So
strange.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my little, I don't know if that qualifies as a rant, but
a little ranty.
Yeah. Not happy. Okay. Moving on. Microsoft Edge version 119 is out. 2 small changes. I'm sorry.
That's a lot of version.
It is a lot of version. I know for old school people like us, it's hard. Like these browsers are in the hundreds. We're in Windows version 8 basically, or 10. I know it's 11, but
yeah.
Anyway,
10.1. There was no 9. Numbers are hard.
Windows 3.1 was the big one. Windows for Workgroups was,
there was 4. There was no 5. There was no 6. But our
history is a litter box of amazing events. Anyway,
the art of counting. Windows.
Yeah. There's only 2 changes in here for users. One is that the UI for toggling the sidebar has moved. I should say the settings UI. Not a big deal, but it did kind of hide it. I don't quite know why. If you search for sidebar in Edge settings, there's a sidebar. Actually, you don't even have to search. There's a sidebar setting right there, and you can't toggle it on or off there. You have to go into Copilot now. I don't know why, but whatever. Not a big deal. And then they made some split screen improvements, meaning that it will now remember the session. So if you have
you have icons all the way around the perimeter of your screen.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't fight with people. I don't mean it like that, but I disagree strongly with people. There are people who love this feature. They think it's the greatest thing in the world. And I'm like, it's called Snap. It's built into the OS. Why can't you just have 2 different?
Yeah.
You could have you could have Snap groups, and there's so many different ways to split up your screen now. I don't think we need another one, but people love it, or some people do anyway. So anyway, it got a little bit better. So that's fine. There's also some low level policy stuff. IT can disable sidebar apps individually now, for example, which I absolutely could see the need for. So that's good too.
Awesome.
And did you guys, Leo, follow this? Leo there? I didn't. I should probably look at the window.
I'm here.
I'm talking to a text screen. Sorry. Did you guys cover the Open AI stuff this week?
Yeah, we did. We did the stream. I think very interesting. We're going to talk more about it this afternoon on This Week in Google right after this show. Sam Altman, I thought a little robotic, but still, it's nice.
Yeah, but that's what you want. That's what you want.
Yeah,
this is the John Carmack guy, the Bill Gates.
I agree. I agree.
Right, little robotic,
but genuine, and boy, the content was impressive. They're really clear,
these guys are not robots. They're just heavily scripted.
I don't.
Well, he has okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
He's Copilot.
It's interesting because after so many Apple, very tightly produced, pre-recorded events. Seeing a guy on stage with a clicker.
Right. Thank you. A human being of a sort.
Of a kind. He was, he had that Mark Zuckerberg complexion.
Yeah, there you go. Right. But that's how he's serious about his job.
He was his arm movements.
You recognize him anyway.
But he's not windsurfing. He's working on AI.
I think what he said, well, first of all, the developers in the crowd were thrilled. The price drops.
Well, that's
the power increase. And I'm starting to come around a little bit on the value of AI. For a long time, I felt like it was just kind of a gimmicky, a little bit of a trick. The thing that I'm watching this and thinking, though, where's Microsoft in all this? Because aren't they like a big owner?
Primary benefactor or I mean,
everything OpenAI does consumes Azure, so it's all good for Microsoft.
Yeah.
They put their own show, and it's next week.
That's true, too. Yeah, I could see them wanting to hold off on anything big and new until next week, right?
Oh, I just activated Windows with an old Windows 7 Ultimate key.
That's funny.
That's funny. That worked. I tried an XP key and it said, no, you can't do that. But the Windows 7 key did seem to work. Yeah, which was interesting.
Okay.
Well, it checked it anyway and said, well, we like that. Shouldn't, really? But it was Ultimate.
No, it shouldn't.
I paid extra. I'm going to keep trying. I have an 8.1 key. I have
I don't know.
Oh, no, it said we can't. Because you don't have
eventually the black helicopters show up.
Yeah. Because the store wants $200 for this Windows Pro.
No, don't. Yeah, do not pay $200 for a Windows key.
Should I try an 8.1 subscription?
No, it's going to give you the same.
Windows 10 Home 64. That should work, right?
That will work. That should work.
Yeah, let me try that one. All right. I have a lot of old keys lying around.
Yeah, I do too, but not for much longer because they're worthless now.
How do you activate a new? Okay, sorry. How do you activate a new one? I'm sorry, I distracted. You were talking.
Well, most people don't even have to think about that. What do you mean? You get a computer. It has you're already activated.
This is not.
You're doing like a white box PC install. So,
right. I have an unusual situation.
Virtually.
I should be able to buy an OEM license, right?
Yep.
Okay, those are cheaper. I'll get one of them. One of them there. Sorry, ChatGPT.
No, it's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, so 100 million weekly users, active weekly users, right? So they're doing pretty well there. But the big thing, and I think Leo alluded to this, was the developer story, right? So third-party APIs are in there, connected databases, email, whatever sources of data. You're essentially going to be able to create your own chat GPTs. I'm sure that's going to be not inexpensive, but I every time I see an AI announcement, I wonder why more of these companies aren't using OpenAI's technology, and maybe this is the beginning of it, right? Maybe this is what needed to happen
under the hood, right? Like it's hard to know.
Yeah, right. Speaking of things, Elon Musk, I'm going to try to drive this one into about 30 seconds of content if I can. Has announced that his AI startup,
Grok, what a moron,
XAI, has a chatbot called Grok. Yes.
Oh, God, and it has Elon's
Robert.
Yeah, it is. It's from Grok. Although it's funny in the description they mentioned Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is puzzled me. But then I realized. And they didn't say this.
It should puzzle you because I can tell you that Douglas Adams would hate this man.
Oh, God. Yeah. But then I realized, I think what he's saying is it has the sense of humor of Marvin the robot, the depressed robot. It has Elon's sense of humor, that's for sure. It's just awful.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It will answer the spicy questions that are rejected by other AI systems. Spicy. We're just asking questions, in other words.
Here I am, world the size of a brain, and I've got to live on Twitter.
Right. Yeah. And then this is actually kind of half a gaming topic, but Microsoft announced this week that they're partnering with a company called InWorld to bring generative AI to game development. And that's actually very interesting, right? And of course, this is happening. One of the big questions with AI is whether this eliminates the need for software development in time. And of course, everyone's chicken littling around the world, bumping into each other, worried about this. But game development obviously is part of that world. And what games will be possible when you don't have to have any particular skills creating games? I guess I'm not sure how else to say it. In other words, you might be a storyteller and you would like to turn this story into a interactive game of some kind, right? Maybe this is going to enable a whole new world of indie games.
That's not right. Inware was talking about tooling within games, like doing procedural generation of content.
Yeah, inside the game. That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I'm all right. I'm sorry. I'm oversimplifying. Right. In other words, today, so a big game like GTA, which by the way is a new GTA coming out soon, or any of these open world games, you either create those places, or I know some of the bigger games now have some algorithms for creating those things. This is, in other words, we can call up, use generative AI in the same way that we use it to create an image with a description and say, I need a whatever it is, a character, a place, a building, an object, whatever, and it will do this kind of stuff on the fly.
And I've always looked at the capabilities as more of, this is what makes repeat playability possible. That the next you go in to play this game,
it's mixed up a little bit, right? It's not the same exact experience. We've had this. I mean, we've had simple versions of that, right? In some games, some games are straight up rail games, and some games are a little more.
And I mean, famously, for all the problems it had, No Man's Sky was about procedurally generated worlds.
Yeah. Right. So look, all this stuff is it's we talk about Call of Duty and it's $1 billion and it's like a Hollywood blockbuster and you need a huge team of people, actors and all kinds of other things. And these technologies, I think, are going to lower the price and level the playing field. Part of the fun.
Because the downside to that is you can only make a handful of them. So why do you keep making another Call of Duty? Because you can sell enough to pay a team that large.
So I've already developed the script I'm going to use to create my own version of Call of Duty with this technology. It's very simple. It just says make Call of Duty, but have it not suck.
There you go.
It's going to happen.
This is a game where you're trying to take care of 100 babies who all need their diapers changed. It's Call of Duty.
That's not good. That's not Call of Duty I was hoping for.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're all for a lot of duty.
Yep.
But what excites me about this is the opportunity to make original gaming. To not have to keep making another sequel and another sequel and another sequel and another sequel.
Right. Yeah, Call of Duty sequels are a lot like sitcoms, where if they're popular enough, you start seeing the same script again, and you're like, did we do an episode about this thing?
Call of Duty, shoot them again, right? It's the same game.
Actually, Call of Duty is worse because they literally redid their most successful trilogy ever, like as a new set of games. I mean, we'll talk about this in the I could just talk about it now. I mean, the new game is out there now if you're on Xbox for single player, but starting Friday, I believe, you'll be able to do the multiplayer, which is what I'm looking forward to. And the reason is it's the same old maps from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the original version from 10 or whatever years ago. And those were some of the best games ever made. And I cannot wait to play those levels again, but modernized, right, and looking better. And it's like going to see a comic and only wanting to hear the jokes you already know.
Yep.
But obviously there's a market for it. I'd love to see them expand on this concept and just do Call of Duty as a recurring subscription where I can play any map from history of this franchise and have playlists and do it. Yep. And have them all be modern and beautiful.
But you understand, I mean, this is why these technologies are coming down the pipe. Is like this industry is ripe for disintermediation, for being disrupted, because they are cranking the same storyline out over and over again. Like, make something new, take some chances. And so if I can lower the price to make a good looking game and explore some other ideas, then we get to explore.
You're a heretic. Okay, frankly. And
listen, I'm part of the PC master race for.
We obviously the same problem in movies, right? So we just concluded a 15-year run of near endless Marvel movies, Men in Tights, and and whatever. And when things like that are successful, of course you stop trying, right? I mean, like, you spend money, but, my God, we're plumbing the depths of comic books for plots now. Like, really? Not that there aren't good stories there. I don't take that the wrong way, but I mean, it's the same thing over and over again. How many times?
Series was amazing.
Spider-Man has been rebooted 3 times in my adult lifetime. I mean,
that's the battle with Sony. That's a different problem.
Yeah, but it's similar. Anyway, it's just I don't know. Yeah. So yes, yeah, I agree with you. And we bring up indie games from time to time. I mean, there's some real gems out there.
Yeah.
And I'd like hopefully to say these AI capabilities will float all boats. Right.
I just got a DLC for Dredge. I'm looking forward to just getting in a couple hours to play with.
What's Dredge? Yeah. I don't know that.
Oh, it's just a.
Are you digging stuff up? Or is it like heavy earth moving?
You have a boat. You're dragging stuff off of the bottom.
You are a dredge. Okay.
Yeah. So,
no, you should use a magnet. You'll get some cool stuff down there.
What isn't in Dredge at all? A gun of any kind. Not one.
Right.
Not a single AK-47.
Not one.
No. Not a bit.
What kind of game is that?
Yeah,
you do a lot of fishing.
Game. No fishing. A lot of fish. It's fishing. It's
a lot of fishing.
It's fishing reimagined.
Every year the Seabees come and they dredge the Petaluma River. Maybe you could just bring your game over here and be nice.
Well, sometimes you're fishing and you bring up a tire and you're like, that's not what I wanted.
So I went to a sketch site recommended by Tom's Hardware, though.
Okay.
And bought a $18 Windows key.
Really? And it worked.
Well,
I'm going to need that link, Leo, because it's
an OEM key. So it's somebody bought, has a spare OEM. Sure. So it worked. So that was good. That saved me $200. Well,
so let's see now.
Are we at the end of your thing yet?
It's fine. Do one thing for me. I'm just curious.
Yes.
Go into settings, the app.
Okay. Let me switch it over so you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it here. Okay.
I just want to see what it says.
Settings.
There's a couple places you need to go. So you're looking at. Oh, you're already in the Activision page.
Yeah.
Could you? I can't see that, but let me.
Can I make it bigger? I don't think I can. Oh yeah, I can. Wow, I did make it bigger. Windows is activated with a digital license.
Okay, that's what I wanted to see.
Linked to your Microsoft account.
Yep. Perfect. No, that's good. Go to click home on the left there.
Yeah. Yep.
And no. Yep. No, I think that's good. And then one more. Go to personalization.
Personalization. Yeah.
Go to background.
I want to change my background. I don't like this.
Well, I don't care if you change it. I just want to. Okay. Yep. No, that's good. That's.
Is this somehow
activated properly?
Are you like a doctor and this is the diagnosis? Like, Will?
There are multiple points where a problematic activation could show its ugly head.
Really?
And it looks like yours is properly active.
Now it may be. Let's see. I'm going to run the update just to see if I can get 23H2.
I mean, there are guys who run what are essentially key servers out of the internet, and you can kind of activate against their, so-called business and.
Yeah, no, and I wouldn't want to do that. And
that's going to be a little dicey, right?
This was Tom's Hardware. I think I kind of trust them. And it's I can say the site. It was called Penguin. Penguin with an I. Penguin. Kingwin. I'm sorry. Kingwin. And Kingwin. And it was I had a code. Oh wow, that was hysterical. So I had a discount code that saved me $2, but then they charged me a $7.38 service fee.
That's what I get.
So it was $25.
Aha moment. That's the gotcha moment.
And I used a privacy card, which I am now deactivating. So
and you got
$5 in shipping and handling.
Yeah.
Windows 11 Pro
and the $10 not paying attention to
it. Yeah, right. That was sneaky. I got a $2 discount code, and then I paid $7 for services.
This is the type of site where you want to use like a credit card that will generate a fake number for you.
What I just did. I used privacy and.
Yep. Do not put PayPal on this.
No,
don't use your real credit card.
They will not have access to this card anymore. They are now. That card is now done.
Good. That's smart.
Yeah.
That's smart.
There we go.
All right.
So, hey, I'm running Windows.
Here's your tip of the week, folks.
Tip of the week.
$25 Windows.
Windows on an M3.
I guess I can show this. I don't think there's just it's Trustpilot rated 4.1.
I don't know what that means, but is it 4.1 out of 100? Like, what's the scale?
And I didn't give him any information at all. I just gave him that one privacy card.
Speaking of phishing, by the way, I just got a text message from an 844 number, and it says your app store order was successful. Amount
congratulations,
$563.67 USD. That's how I get bills. So it's probably real. And I mean, like this is the world we live in. We're a constant barrage of this.
Yeah. And then
I could opt out and send quit.
And then there's Kingwin.
And then there's Kingwin.
And then there's Kingwin. Interesting.
Oh, well.
Should I not admit to that? No, I think what they said, what Tom's Hardware says is there are people who have OEM keys they don't use. Obviously, Microsoft's not going to let you activate the key more than once.
Right.
And they sell them cheap. And there you go.
That sounds
roughly sort of
like a justification of some kind, but it's okay.
It's sort of
fine. Look, you're not gonna. 30 years ago, I walked at my friend owned an Amiga shop, and he started selling PCs, and I wanted to check out Windows. And I'm like, you got to give me a copy of Windows on 3 floppies or whatever. And he's like, I can't do that. I charged $300 for that. And I was like, Rich, come on,
come on, Rich.
Rich, I'm not paying for Windows. Come on, Rich. Like, I just want to look at
Windows. I just want to look at
it.
it.
You're not gonna. It's not like you're gonna be using Windows now on a Mac. You're just testing it out.
It's really true. I probably didn't need a key at all because you get 30 days or something, 90 days probably, right?
You get forever, actually.
Forever.
You could go for a long time. As long as you don't mind not customizing it or whatever. It's
that new Call of Duty, I'm sitting watching a TV show, probably a football game, and a thing comes on. I think, boy, the CGI in this movie is not great. And then I realize
it's a game.
It's a game. It's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
Yep. So I got home from my trip last night, and the first 2 things I did was break out my Pixel 8 I've been waiting for 3.5 weeks.
Nice.
And turn on my Xbox knowing there would be an update. And there was 120 gigabytes. And I've already installed the damn thing, and now I'm installing it again, apparently, or it's done now. But just in preparation for Friday, because I got reasons. And I don't.
Does a wife out of town on Friday? What's the?
No. Where did I see this? It
Friday, your fun day.
I saw a thing that said I hadn't done anything in 200 and I think it's in 252 days or something or whatever it was. So some number of days. I was like, that sounds about right.
So you're going off you're falling off the wagon on Friday, huh?
Yeah. Sometimes you got to eat carbs, Leo.
Why did you set that date? Did you set a date? Did you say I will do this until Friday?
I didn't set a date, but Friday is the day because that's the day I can play Call of Duty multiplayer. So,
yeah, I
just want to go look at the maps.
6 days, like that's the right number.
Yeah,
give me.
You're gonna have to give your coin back.
I know it's okay.
All right.
Sorry,
your chip. Give me your chip, dude. You fell off the wagon.
Well, I listen. I'm open to other things. I played the beginning of Resident Evil on the iPhone while I was away with an Xbox controller.
How was
and
that?
An external display.
Was that satisfying?
Honestly, it was fantastic. I never finished that game on Xbox. I had finished the predecessor. The new one is Village, or as I call it, Village. I can't stop pronouncing things in French for some reason. Anyway, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I do it in Mexico all the time. It's delightful. Anyway, it's a good game. It's a scary game. The fidelity is incredible. I wouldn't be able to play it on the screen. I mean, you can, but with a controller, and of course, I have the biggest iPhone you can get. It's still tiny for me because my eyes are terrible. But honestly, the performance is great. The graphics are great. The sound is great. There's something going on here. I mean, Apple wanted the Apple TV to be kind of a game box, and I guess it is for some simple games. But honestly, the game ecosystem on the iPhone is so much better, and obviously, and this. I don't know. This is interesting.
I just showed you Baldur's Gate on the Baldur's Gate 3 on the M3. It's I was running at max settings. I mean, literally maxed it out completely.
I think this could be the beginning of a new kind of mobile gaming era.
Maybe not mobile. I mean, they have. Look at this. The processor has 40 GPUs.
You're right.
And it's the same processor on your iPhone. So your iPhone's an M3. They just don't call it.
Okay. The Nintendo Switch is a, low resolution, right? But dockable. It's kind of a portable / home console thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's
the
fine.
iPhone could become this.
Yep.
You could be on your TV with your controller and your iPhone sitting there burning up the couch next to you or whatever. And
that's what Apple
I could
wants
see
you
it.
to do, for sure.
Yeah. I don't think it's quite there yet. It's kind of like the HP folding display. It's, but you can see it. Like you can kind of see it. Anyway, I tried some PC games. I played some PC games. I didn't try them. I actually played some games on the PC. It's fine. And we'll see. We'll see if I look like a non-recovered addict in about 2 weeks. Something went horribly wrong.
His beard is growing.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
shaky.
The game that'll
care of
take
myself.
out on the Switch is Mario Kart. Like, it's infinitely playable.
I play Portal on the Switch. There's a lot of great games. The Switch is a nice little portable thing. I think it's really better than the Steam Deck and its clones because it's what it is. It's not trying to be a PC in your hands.
Right.
And maybe that's the
maybe that'll be the problem with the
iPhone.
iPhone. Actually, yeah, maybe. Yeah. We'll see.
Let me take a little break before you go on with the Xbox segment, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Is that okay?
It's fine, Leo.
Okay?
Do whatever you want. I don't care.
Do you want to run over and play just a quick round of Call of Duty? Oh no, you can't yet. Not till Friday.
I can't. I can play single player, but come on.
Come on.
I mean, come on. I'm not breaking a fast for that.
You think the guys are going to welcome you back? They're going to, Paulie's back.
They didn't welcome me when I was a regular, so no, I don't think so.
What, do you
Another
have
source of teabagging.
Let's all teabag Paulie.
Camper Paul.
Glad
Back in business.
Paul's
glad
back.
you're back. I need someone to shoot.
I'm the guy
Paul is
giggling
back.
in the dark corner. You'll hear me before you see me.
Oh, I like it. He's like the Joker.
Yeah.
Our show today brought to you by some really cool cats at Miro. I love the Miro. But what is Miro? Well, it's the online workspace for innovation. Well, what does that mean exactly? And how can it help you? This is where I get excited. Because as soon as you start using it, you're going to have, your mind will blossom. Ideas will come to you. You want to put it on a big screen, go ahead and put it on a big screen. What it really is a visual place, an incredible visual place that you could bring all your work together, your whole team together, even if they're in different time zones, even if they're at home, they're at work. It's Miro. Now, Miro can be, whatever you need it to be. We use it to plan shows, for instance. It is really great for people who are doing product design. It's packed with all the right things to do your dream product's home base. 6 whole capability bundles from product development workflows to content visualization. It's got Miro AI built in. That means you're generating new ideas or taking, complex information and summarizing it right into the Miro board, and it does it pretty much instantly. Miro really can work for any team, but product development teams really get the full experience. Your team will get the richest feature set of any visual workspace with specific tools to help with strategy or process mapping, facilitation tools to run effective design or agile sprints. You get the idea. You can do anything. It works with all of the platforms you use. So this is the idea. You might be jumping from Jira or to Confluence or Google Drive or Asana or Zapier and all these different tools, jumping from tool to tool. It all goes into Miro, so you don't have to jump around. It's all in your workspace. You're centralizing your work in a way that makes sense for your team. They don't need to leave Miro to update projects or statuses in any of these tools. They do it all in Miro. And it's a great time saver. Miro users report saving about 80 hours a year, 2 weeks of time per year per user by streamlining conversations, cutting down on meetings. Nobody likes meetings, right? You'll see all the most up-to-date information in one place. You have a single source of truth for your project. Miro has added a great new feature that's especially useful for people in different time zones, because you don't want to have another meeting and figure out, well, how do we get Joe in from Hong Kong and Fred in from Estonia and then Louis in St. Louis, and it's going to be different times. No, you can be asynchronous with this new feature. It's called Talk Track. You can pre-record your thoughts. You leave it on the board so you don't have to schedule the millionth meeting of the month. It's really a fantastic tool. It's not the only commenting tool either. I mean, it's packed with features. I'm going to give you your first 3 Miro boards for free. Forever. Free. It's just fantastic. Try it out for yourself. Get your first 3 boards for free. Start working better. Miro, M-I-R-O. Please go to our site, miro.com/podcast. That way they'll know you saw it here, and you'll get those 3 boards for free. Miro.com/podcast. It's truly remarkable. Great tool. Miro. Speaking of tools, here's Paul Thurrott. And
Fair enough.
Honestly.
No, that's mean. With our Xbox segment. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Leo. Again.
Yes.
While you were doing the ad, I was just catching up with the news. Just real quick, there was also a Windows Insider build for the dev channel that has more apps that can be uninstalled, more fixes for Explorer, right? Which is going to be a problem for a while, like I said, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some stuff going on there as well. Nothing major, but I just wanted to throw that out there. And then back to the gaming stuff. Most of this is actually not Xbox, curiously, but is Xbox adjacent. Nintendo actually had a great quarter, which is kind of weird given where they are in the Switch's life cycle and how they plan to replace it next year. But there was a Mario Brothers movie this year, which I guess I'm vaguely familiar with, but apparently this thing is still doing well for them and whatever. And then there are new Mario, new and existing Mario, and then a new Zelda game that are all, doing well still somehow. So almost 3 million more Switch consoles were sold in the quarter. Total for that product is 132.46 million units sold. Over the course of the life cycle there. The software, 1.13 billion units sold cumulatively. Top games, 2 of them are Mario titles. Yep. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has sold 57 million units. Animal Crossing's New Horizons, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Super Mario Odyssey, which comes in 5th place with 26.95 million units sold.
Wow.
This thing's doing great.
Animal Planet was that high up. That's really interesting. That was my
number two all time on the platform.
That was my pandemic game.
Million.
I played that for hours.
Yeah, I think a lot of these were probably pandemic boosts. Actually, I disposed my mind that these guys would have of their businesses. It's called, what is it called? Whatever the business is that has the movie part in it. They saw like a 184% year-over-year boost of revenues out of this.
Well, that's from no movies to one movie. So
but I mean, this movie came out in like April. I mean, the fact that this is somehow still generating anything is astonishing.
Yeah. Hey, I like this shot, Richard, that you just gave us of your of your backdrop there.
Yeah, the boss poked in through the door there just before the break and grabbed a picture.
And that is, you're still using a Surface Book, aren't you?
That's the Surface Book 2. Yeah. The new workstation's sitting there. I just haven't wired it up yet. The desk is new. We're still shuffling things around, but I hooked up the big screen.
Nice.
Yeah. That's an ultra wide.
Those in our Discord can see it. I would put it. Oh, there it is. I can put it up now for you.
Yeah. That's like the original LG 34-inch. Like, it's old. Okay. I've had it for years.
Oh, but those are great monitors.
They're great screens. Nothing bad to say about
my
them.
My wife uses a 49-inch, so it practically curves around her.
Yeah.
What a view you have, though. I am so jealous of that view. Is that a lake out there, or the bed?
If you want to see my view, by the way, just hold up a piece of white paper in front of your face. That's exactly what it looks like.
That's the ocean.
I've got the pivot camera here, so I can switch you around to.
Oh, what a view! Do you see whales go by or anything?
Yeah. We had humpbacks out there eating herring the other day.
I described the people in my apartment building that way, but they don't like it.
Humpbacks eating herring.
Don't like it.
Yeah. It's a misty day, so you can barely see Texada at the moment, but
that is just really cool.
The guest house is available, Leo. You just got to be able
I'm
to
very
go.
tempted. I
He's
really
gonna
am
get there.
tempted.
Yeah.
I don't.
There is a ferry ride involved.
Will your wife say, like, who is this guy? Why is he?
No, I think she was on the cruise ship with us.
Oh, I remember. Oh, yeah, never mind. I met her, of course. What am I saying?
aware.
Yeah. I forgot about. God, I blanked that Alaska cruise out of my mind.
Yeah.
That was the COVID cruise. Yeah.
Oh, it was.
That's the one time I've had it.
Oh, she got it too.
Yeah, she did too. Yeah. And Paul, you got it too, right?
Yep. I like to be part of the crowd.
Yeah.
The good news is we were all vaccinated and nobody got it too badly, I don't think. I mean, for me, it was a cold. Actually,
I wouldn't have noticed. I thought I had a cold, and Stephanie said, you got to test yourself because we're going home and your daughter's going on whatever. And I'm like, okay. And I guess I wouldn't have known.
The killer COVID.
Yeah.
Neutered. So I'm sorry. We interrupted this message, but let's go back to the gaming news. Is there any more gaming?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, there sure is. I'm starting to cover other gaming companies now because of Activision Blizzard. So EA is doing great. It's all sports games. The big thing
very
for them
funny
was,
phrase. I mean, EA was been the laughing stock for a long time, but they sure do own the sports franchise.
They own sports. And the thing that's interesting is this is the first year they didn't use the FIFA name in their football/soccer title, depending on where you're living. And they went with FC24, and there was a big fear that things were going to go off the rails because of that. But actually, this is I don't remember the exact figure, but it's the fastest start ever for this game and this franchise.
That's weird. I've known it for FIFA forever.
Accounts,
yeah. So FC is football club. I guess maybe the people who play it kind of just would know that that's.
Yeah, they know what it means.
That's the new one.
Yeah. What did I say? Fight? What did I say? Did I say
you
it
said
wrong?
FIFA.
I said FIFA. I'm sorry. I want to be really clear about this. I don't care.
I say FIFA. You say FIFA.
It's soccer.
It's soccer or football.
Yeah.
I mean, how long can they call it John Madden? Right. I mean, maybe it's time to change that one.
That game is, by the way, is another one that's doing great. It's the third best-selling game this cycle.
Michael buys every year buys the new one. Every year,
right?
And I think that's the secret of this whole thing, right? Is that people just keep buying it.
Well, it's smart because you don't really have to update the engine or the graphics or anything. It's just the new rosters. It's just.
I mean, you probably do every once in a while.
Yeah. They do, and they're better every year. They're incrementally better. But that's I don't think why people buy it. They just want the latest teams and.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Michael, why does he buy it?
I mean, I don't know. Soccer is 90 minutes of screaming and 2 seconds of actual scoring.
I kind of agree with you. We're spoiled. We're jaded because we have American football, which is.
I thought you were going to say something like, we're jaded because we have good sports.
I'm not going to say that. I am sensitive to other people's concerns.
Because we have football up in Canada too. Everybody loves CFL. Only 4 downs are for the week.
What is the name of that cup? The Grey Cup?
Grey Cup.
Yeah. That's inspiring.
30 years old.
I wonder how they named that.
You want to win the Grey Cup. Okay.
The same guy that brought you Earl Grey.
Is it?
Made a cup.
Yeah.
No, it's the Earl Grey guy?
Oh, it's the Earl Grey Cup, of course.
Is it really? No.
God. It has a.
No, but it's the same.
That would be amazing.
Is there bergamot in it? Is there?
That would have been so perfect.
For the man who brought you the tea, now to the championship.
That's good.
The Earl Grey.
I've been to.
We're running our 110th Grey Cup this year.
Right.
That is kind of amazing. I mean, the Lombardi Trophy is like 50 years old. That's amazing. Yeah.
A long time.
Wow. 70 years old.
Yeah. NFL's never going to make it that long. There'll be too many head injuries.
And it really was an Earl Grey that named it.
Not the Earl Grey, or was it the Earl Grey?
It's a Canadian Governor General.
Now, see, now inquiring minds.
There was a quorum of legislatures, Leo. It's Canada. Things happen,
Remember, we weren't
in the middle.
We were not the ones who had the revolution when we wanted to be our own country. We just filled in a form,
I often wonder if we had been more patient, if we could have gotten out of the empire, just, fill out a form.
Yeah,
like
just
everybody else did. You mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And you all be wearing poppies. like the rest of
I
us.
think we should. If I can get a Poppy, I'm going to get one.
I'll bring you one.
Well, it's only for 3 days. Maybe next year. How about that?
I wear it. I'll wear it all next week. You'll see me.
No, I love that. And when I worked in Canada, I would wear one on call for help. We'd all wear a poppy, a red poppy. It's a lovely tradition. Somebody came around to the office and was selling the poppies, so that's where you get them. And it's for charity. Yep. What else, Paul? What else is going on in the world of?
Tell us about the Epic court fight. I love this one.
Epic's back in court.
On Fortnite, you're wasting it on lawyers.
This time it's Google's turn.
Yeah, so Google, because they're in a bit of antitrust trouble as it is, in fact, they're coming up in the next story as well. This might go a little differently than the Apple one. It's going to be heard by a jury. There is evidence where Google has been paying game makers to stay in their store, which is part of the next story, actually. I don't know. There's some established behavior here, so we'll see how it goes. So Epic's fighting a good fight. I wish them well. I don't know. So we'll see. But it's in court now. So Google is actually in 2 antitrust court cases at trial concurrently in the United States, not even in Europe.
Wow,
that's astonishing.
Yeah, Apple basically won the case against Epic. There was one little thing.
Well, I think actually Epic won on a pretty good point, but it was so watered down by implementation, unfortunately.
Well, and they're both now in the Supreme Court.
Yep.
Asking
so we'll see.
A review.
That's right. Yeah, we'll see. This came out as part of this came out of this. Actually, I guess this is technically the same story. Sorry. Google paid Activision Blizzard $360 million in 2020 to keep games in their store as part of something internally called Project Hug. Because I think Project Smother sounded a little too aggressive, and this is, I throw these things at my wife in the morning when I read news stories, but it's a thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is like once you're dominant, like once you actually have a monopoly, right? Job one becomes maintaining that monopoly. And this is where the real bad behavior comes out, frankly. Scrapping your way to the top, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
everybody loves it too. Everybody loves a scrappy underdog.
Yeah. But once you're there, once you're dominant, things change dramatically, right? You're not innovative anymore. You're just protecting. Yeah. You're protecting what you have.
There's only one way.
This came up early with the Jeffrey Farrell thing. I mean, like you get these two things are not contrary, and they're not they don't negate each other, right? Google right now probably, absolutely has the best search engine in the world. But why did they pay $26 million in 2022 to keep it on phones? Like, what are they afraid of? Like, I mean, aren't people going to use it anyway? I don't know. I think they are. But then again, OpenAI is happening. ChatGPT, things are changing.
We talked about the fact that they hadn't innovated at all, right? In theory, they had barred years ago. We can question how good it was. But their argument for not deploying it is it cut down on the amount of sponsored ad space on the page.
Exactly right. They were like, we have this great technology, but it's going to block us from making money. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the type of decision you make. You dominate.
So here we are.
Yep.
Paying money to keep things in the store. I mean, why were they going to leave the store in the first place?
I probably for the App Store fees, and they could sideload, and that they're some of their games are popular enough.
That $360 million, was that just the 30% back?
Probably right. And also, I suppose alternate app stores, not that any of them are all that popular, but Samsung has one. Amazon
we get back
has one.
At Epic, right?
Yeah.
Right. There you go.
Yep. Activision Blizzard is humongous. I mean, Epic is a big company compared to my company, but compared to Activision Blizzard and
they've got one
Google and Apple, it's not even
one title, right?
Yeah, it's a
there are order of magnitudes you're talking about here when you talk about Microsoft and Google and Apple.
Yeah,
and then
which is why. So it might have been the Wall Street. I think it was the Washington Post again. They had their headline about this was gaming giant Epic takes on Google or something. Yeah, gaming giant.
One title.
Gaming giant.
Yeah.
Gaming giant.
Yeah. Fortnite owner is the only thing you
right.
can do.
Fortnite, hugely popular, no doubt about it. You know what's a little more popular than Fortnite? Google. I just,
How about World of Warcraft, Diablo?
Right.
Like, go down the list of games. It's Activision Blizzard, for crying out loud. Like, you're going to talk about gaming giant. Here's the beast.
Right.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Wholly owned subsidiary of Microsoft.
So, Activision Blizzard didn't have the, intestinal fortitude or whatever to just do their own thing, but they took the money. And meanwhile, Epic, which could have used that money, a lot more than Activision Blizzard, was like, no, we're not doing it. I do respect that. I mean, we can debate their strategies and whatever, but I like that someone is calling these companies to task. It needs to happen.
There's a part of this being the sort of self-righteous approach. On the other hand, it is kind of crooked. Like, it's not so much what you get out of this, it's that you surface all this into the public record.
Right. It's like finding out about payola in the music industry or anything.
This is what you're talking about. The big players don't. I'll bet you anything that 360 million is exactly that. It's the 30% that
there you go.
Paid. So the Google could point and say, hey, the big player's paying, so you should pay too.
That's right.
And then on the back door, it's like, here's your money back.
Oh, which is and this didn't come out of my brain. I read this somewhere else, but someone else made the excellent point of, explain to me. So you're Apple. You're the biggest company in the world.
Yeah.
And you report your finances normally like every other company on earth every quarter. But you've never once mentioned the fact that your biggest deal of all time, $18 to $20 billion in 1 year for search, bolstering your services business dramatically. You never mentioned that publicly. That's interesting. Like how embarrassed are you that you hide that from the public while promoting your privacy initiatives and what happens on the iPhone stays on the iPhone and all that stuff. I mean,
Paul, you're running into this terrible thing. Remember when public companies were about protecting?
We're public. Yeah, we're actually disclosing information legally and whatnot. Yeah, no, I do remember that, and I miss those.
Create legal structures. We hide where real sources of money come from.
It's incredible though. Like that, you made that much money. Like, for example, here's one way you could hide something big when you're kind of embarrassed by it. This is an Xbox related topic. A couple of winters ago, Fortnite was running great on Xbox, doing excellent, and Microsoft said that Xbox software and services were up, 234% due to the popularity of a third-party title. That's all they said. But everyone knew what it meant. You knew what it was. Like these guys are just like, you're like, wow, Apple Arcade is doing way better than I thought. No, it's not that. It's not. It's not that. It's apparently it's Google. And the fact that this is institutionally embarrassing to Apple, and both companies agreed or demanded that the public never learn of this.
The argument should be that
is something important, I think, to this story.
Yeah. The group to be embarrassed is the SEC. You're supposed to be protecting the public.
Right. Exactly.
Come on.
This is the one I don't. Yeah, I don't know this part of the world well enough. I do report on financial earnings every quarter for multiple companies and so forth, but I don't know if something has changed behind the scenes with the law or regulation or whatever. But I do know explicitly that the reporting has gotten vaguer and vaguer and vaguer as we go forward. And because no regulator has ever called them on this, it just keeps getting worse. I can't believe a deal of that. Activision Blizzard went through 18 months of regulatory nightmares. This payment, what they just send a check? What are they doing? Wire transfer? Nothing?
We've always kind of known that this was going on.
Yeah, but we didn't know it was this big.
Yeah.
Here is like, clearly you have a mandate to go after the tech giants. Why didn't you do some good while you're doing it?
Incidentally, this is actually today.
Okay.
Google's in court in what The Verge calls the Fortnite trial.
Okay. All right.
And they say, hey, Your Honor, please don't tell anybody about our Spotify deal. This is the quote. Disclosure of the Spotify deal would be very, very detrimental because apparently they gave Spotify a sweetheart deal instead of 30%.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. This is why these trials are very damaging for both sides. This stuff in discovery can really be.
This stuff needs to be.
They shouldn't have to go to discovery. They should be
I know. Well, but it's not. I mean, that's the SEC, right? That's what what the SEC tells them what they have to tell investors.
Or the SEC, yeah.
Yes, Securities and Exchange Commission. It's pretty funny. Apparently, Spotify got a sweetheart deal.
They all did.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. Enough.
And then this doesn't warrant much attention, but Sony announced that it was going to kill a Twitter integration on its consoles, PlayStation 4 and 5, I guess now.
Did it had Twitter integration? How about that?
Yeah. We used to have it on Xbox too.
Yeah, everybody's killing it. Nobody wants to have. Well,
it's just you don't want to pay for it. I mean, the volume of traffic they'd have to. They probably looked at it. Why would we do this? Like, this is crazy.
Oh, so that's it. It's just a money thing.
It's API access money.
Yeah.
Twitter's changed or X has changed.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Twitter has gone down the toilet bowl a little bit. It's been kind of a weird cesspool. I don't know. No.
Are you going to pay the $16 special super duper premium plus Twitter feed?
Obviously, Leo. I love Twitter.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
No. So my problem with Twitter is
I want a magenta check mark.
I have 125,000 followers, and it drives a lot of traffic to my site.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to hold a fire to my toes, which it sounds like they do, I have a real decision to make there because it's actually significant for me. I'm not just out there, spewing conspiracy theories. I also have a business that, I don't want to say relies on Twitter, but it's a lot less valuable to me now than it was. But
it's always driven our marketing department crazy that despite the fact that I have 500,000 followers on Twitter, I refuse to use it to promote our network. We do use it, but those accounts are much smaller, the Twitter account and so forth.
Right.
But I'm not going to post on Twitter. I'm just not. I know it might hurt us. I don't know. So do you really think you get traffic by promoting on Twitter? You do.
I do.
Yep.
So I should probably be doing it.
I can't. I'm not sure I can say that. Twitter. The problem. How do I say this? People have been complaining about Twitter since there's been a Twitter.
Right.
And they talk about toxicity and all this stuff. And
I know that reason they stole our freaking name.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I had a really good reason.
No, but Twitter until Elon Musk always for me was like this little. My part of Twitter was like this little oasis, and it was good. Yeah. But what I've seen over the past several months is that stuff that people talked about has made its way into my world now, Twitter now too. And
the people I'm following, it's still pretty much okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't say that for the replies. I don't post, so I don't know what my replies would be like. They do, as they promote blue checks in the replies. So
sure.
I don't know if I would want
I've resisted the blue check to date. I don't like
but that's the thing is the people who do pay for it get pride of position in replying to you.
They shouldn't have any pride because those people are paying for this, and this makes them look like stupid people. I think. Well, I don't think it makes them look better. It makes them look unsophisticated.
But I have to say, I mean, the same people I was following before, for those, the problem is it's not as many great people. A lot of the journalists are gone. A lot of the reliable sources are gone.
Certainly. The main thing is you don't know if they're there or not because there's no.
Well, I'm saying I have the same. I still have people I followed from day one.
Sure.
I don't know what it is, like 10,000 people. Those people, when they post, I'll see them in the following tab.
It's the big loss for Twitter to me is just it was the place you would get information if there was a disaster, something bad happened. A municipality, a government, or whatever would always go there and say, okay. And now those places they're trying to
get less charged. And less,
And they just, of course, they say no. This is the public service aspect of Twitter that I think will be missed the most.
I agree, and there's no replacement out there. Nobody has critical mass. So, there's blue sky and there's threads, but
and that's the thing is nobody wants to build a social graph again. We're done. Right? That whole idea.
That's really the truth. Yeah, it's over. And that's sad, Yeah, I'm looking through. I haven't been on Twitter or X in a while. I'm just looking in the following tab, and these are good people. I don't get bad stuff in there because these are the people I've explicitly followed. But there's not a lot of stuff. I mean, And there's a lot of ads and a lot of junky ads. Temu is advertising like crazy on Twitter.
What's it?
Right.
Temu is a Chinese, like it's the new Alibaba.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. So
what's next?
That's it. That's it for gaming.
You done?
Yeah.
You know where your $7 a month would go? I think to a long way to really supporting a quality information source into my pocket. No, it doesn't. I wish it went into my pocket. It doesn't go into my pocket. But what it goes to is paying the lights, paying the staff, paying Paul and Richard. That's our Club Twit membership. And as Lisa was prescient 2 years ago, she said, we should have a club where people can support us directly. I said, I tried that in the beginning. Wasn't a whole lot of money. She said, times are changing. We should have a club. And she was right because podcast ad sales have disappeared, as have numerous podcast networks, Gimlet and Stitcher and WNYC and on and on and on, because the revenues aren't there anymore. And so we don't want to go away. I'll be honest. We want to keep doing what we're doing. I think we're going to see some shrinkage, but because the times are getting colder, it's getting a little chillier. But if you can help, the damage will be very much mediated. $7 a month. What do you get? Ad-free versions of this show and every other show, which is great. You also get shows we don't put out in public, like Paul's Hands on Windows show. Our Untitled Linux show is very popular. This Week in Space started in the club. So, and there's events like tomorrow's Stacy's Book Club. So we try to make it worthwhile. There's also the things that we talk about before and after shows become part of the Twit Plus feed. We're trying to give you some benefit for it, but the real benefit is you're helping us continue on. Because I think we provide an important service. If you feel the same way, join the 8,000 other people who are now members of Club Twit. Twit.tv/Club Twit. And thank you in advance. Back of the book time. Paul, I'm going back to you for your tip of the week.
Yeah, actually I have 2 app picks this week.
Okay.
Brave, which I've talked about a lot. I've got a long article coming about Brave soon. I was writing part of it on the plane. I get weird pushback about Brave. I feel like people don't understand what's happening with this browser.
It's a browser based on Chrome or Chromium, to be technically accurate.
It's privacy and security focused. It's secure and private out of the box. It's thin and light. I know there's some little UI things that people can't stand, but seriously, left click, remove. There's all of that. It's as simple.
Is it pretty light? Because it feels like, because it has so many features, it might be heavy, like Vivaldi.
No, actually, it doesn't have a lot of features. That's the thing. So if you're looking for the latest, UIs and little, UI features, no, this is not the browser view. But I just want to browse the web. To me, the browser is about getting to me the thing, not about all its.
Is it as snappy as Chrome?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. Look, we'll try to talk about it again.
Chrome is kind of a pig in terms of memory use.
No, Chrome's gotten better actually. And it does all the stuff that Chrome and Edge do around sleeping tabs and all that kind of stuff. According to Brave, these statistics are probably actually a year or more out of date, but they do have statistics about how. I'll just read it to you. This article that I promise you I will eventually publish. Their statistics on performance and efficiency. Let's see if I can find this exact thing.
Speaking of stealing our names, Brave did steal my name for their AI assistant.
Oh, well, no, you ruined it. I was going to get to that. All right. Anyway.
Okay,
continue. Significantly faster. Uses significantly less memory and provides significantly more battery life
than Chrome.
Yeah, so the reason
it's an improved Chrome. That's good.
Yeah,
but it's as compatible as Chrome, and that's why people still use Chrome, because all the websites want.
It works with all the extensions. All the websites work 100%.
Chromium. That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, the reason I'm mentioning it today is because they did add an AI-based browser assistant, and its name is, what is it, Leo?
Leo. Gosh darn it.
Keeping with the lion theme, I guess, of Brave, right?
Oh, I get it. Yeah, Leo the lion.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's their.
I kind of like the way it works. I don't use a sidebar in my browsers, but you can just type in anything in the address bar, and one of the options you'll see at the bottom will be convert. Use this as a start of a conversation with Leo. So you can say things to it like, tell me a joke, and it will tell you a terrible joke. Why did the computer go to the doctor? Because it had a virus. Anyway, but the idea here is that it works.
Is that the joke? No,
that's the joke. That was the first joke I ever asked it, and that's what it told me. But this is they're also one of their little prongs into a paid service. If you want to pay for Leo Premium, sorry, you could do that. I'm not going to do that. But anyway, they're working with Anthropic, and I think they have a thinner and lighter version I call Claude, maybe, or Cloud Instance.
Anthropic's is Claude. That's like their chat GPT.
Yeah. Right.
We use Claude.
So it's worth trying. Yeah, it's worth trying.
Quite a bit. Anthony's a big Claude fan.
Yeah. But you can use it for free, and that's
nice.
I don't think I'm going to use it too much, but it's in there if you like that kind of thing. And if that's keeping you from using Brave because they don't have it, now they have something at least. I don't know. And then the second pick is something I've already used. I apologize for that, but it's been updated significantly. So Start 11 V2, we talked about a week or two ago, I think, probably 2 weeks ago. And they've improved it yet again. And the reason I'm mentioning this again is because it's kind of a cool feature. So one of the rumors for Windows 12 is that they're going to continue down the Mac path, take this centered taskbar, which is skewed off because of the stuff on the sides, and pull it up off of the bottom of the screen and have it float there like a, I don't know, dock, if you will, and make it even look more like the Mac. And so the new version of Start 11 V2 actually provides this functionality now. If you want to see what that might look like, a kind of a floating taskbar in this case. Yeah. Kind of fun.
As long as it doesn't float away, everything's going to be fine.
Or if it does, who cares? Keyboard shortcuts, folks. That's why we use Windows. Please don't ever forget that.
Could be using Linux. Then you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, well, right. As opposed to a Mac. I mean.
There you go.
Mr. Richard Campbell, run his radio. What's coming up?
Well, the website's fixed.
Yahoo! What was it? You knew? Or?
My underlying engine for managing the podcast, Simplecast, had changed the API.
Oh gosh.
We were just doing a direct fetch of shows, and it used to pull the first 1,000 shows. And since we're only at 900, it worked great. They changed it to 500, and that became a problem.
Oh.
Fix the code to actually grab all the shows, fewer problems.
Nice.
That's fixed. This week's show, just published today, was with Ulrika Hedlund, who's a Microsoft MVP and RD, runs a great business out of Sweden called Storyals, and has an unbelievable roster of clients, and they are all asking her about large language models, about Copilot. So this was one of a series of shows I've been doing, helping sysadmins get ready to deal with large language models, acknowledging the first thing, which is they're already using them inside the organization. Are you paying attention? And so this was much more the conversation of, okay, if you have a larger organization, what's the strategy? Kinds of training, what products make sense in that environment, what kind of governance do you have, how do you manage data leakage, those kinds of issues. So Ulrich is in the midst of all of this, and so it was great to talk to someone who is fighting the good fight and give everyone else a leg up.
Nice. Ulrika.
Yeah.
I like that name. Ulrika. And you did pick a nice brown liquor for tonight.
This is one we all know.
Yeah.
You know well
you introduced me to it.
Did. Although I introduced you back in the day to a Banda.
Right.
This is a different version of it. But let's talk a little bit about Abalur for starters. So this is a Speyside distillery, the original version built in 1825.
Wow.
Although it ran for a few years before James and John Grant moved on to make the Glen Glant distilleries in Rothies literally down the road. And then the distillery was set vacant for a few years until James Fleming reopened it in 1879, where it promptly burned down, as he did back then, because lack of fire controls and using explosive gases like alcohol. So there was a major reconstruction in 1898, which will become interesting a little later on. And then it goes through the usual iterations that most distilleries go through. Sold to a group called W.H. and Holt and Sons in 1945, it went to S. Campbell and Sons. And in 1973, they did a major expansion of the distillery, largely because they were selling a big portion of their production to Dewar's for the blends. And at that time, in 1973, they were putting a new set of stills in. So they excavated the backside of the still room and found a time capsule from 1898.
Oh my gosh.
It included some of the recipes for how they were making whiskey in 1898, which actually became the inspiration for a bunta, which in Gaelic, which I'm terribly mispronouncing, means the original. So there's sort of this idea of, hey, we basically have their recipe from 1898 on how they make whiskey. We should start making that whiskey. It took them a few years to get it up and running. And during that time, Pernod Ricard bought Abelard and all the other Campbell distilleries. And then eventually we buy Chivas and so forth. Like they're one of the major giants in that space.
Do they change things? I mean, is that a bad thing, or they just?
There's a bunch of things that happens when you end up in a conglomerate. Like you become parts of blending groups. You do barrel sharing. So the product is affected, but there's still the same stills, right? The for the still, the shape of the lie arm, the way the Ugby works, like all of that stuff more or less stays the things. You don't mess with the stills, but you probably mess with how you buy grain. You probably change how you handle barrels. And often you're dealing with scale issues because you're part of a larger group now and you're probably going to produce more because you get access to more markets.
Right.
Pernod Ricard sells all over the world. And so, things have to expand. Now, the whiskey that you two fell in love with, the Abelard Abunda, is a fantastic whiskey, and I often have it around because it's one of the very few cask strength whiskeys that you can buy off the shelf. Cask strengths are rare. What makes that whiskey distinctive, and Abelard especially, is that it's aged only in sherry casks.
Mm-hmm.
So they buy Spanish sherry casks, which are expensive and very large, and do long agings. Although if you look at a bottle of Abunda, you will notice that it has no age statement on it. It's an NSA bottle. And there's a good reason for that. The whiskey's not that old. You can't age a long time in sherry cask most of the time. It becomes quite strong. Like you won't like the flavors. So the rumor is that it's between 5 and 25-year-old barrelings that they use, but it's mostly 5 to 8-year-olds. And that's young enough that putting the year on it, putting 5 on it wouldn't make anybody happy. So they don't. And let's face it, it tastes good. You liked it. I like it. It's a great whiskey. They do no coloring. All that color comes from the sherry cask. They do no chill filtration. So that's Abelard Abunda. That's where it comes from. And today, the Abelard distillery has 2 sets of stills. That second set was put in the 1970s. They like stainless steel mash tuns. They use no heat whatsoever. I was delighted to see that they used the Maori cream yeast because you guys love the idea of cream yeast. And they use rack house. Okay. Yeah. So I was going to giggle when I mentioned yeast creams. So when I notice it, I'm like, I'll write it down for you guys. And they do rack house aging, which is dirt floors, barrels on their sides, and wooden racks.
Wow.
Classic. So a couple of years ago, they made a new edition of Abelard Abunda.
How did I not know about this?
And it's called the Alba. Now, Alba is a funny word because it's actually a reference. It could be a reference to Querius alba, aka the American white oak. That is the bourbon cask, because this is a version of Abunda made in bourbon casks instead of sherry casks. Alba in Gaelic also means Scotland, so there's a fun little crossover there. But it is a different edition of Abunda. Other than that, again, no age declaration on the bottle. Multiple barrelings.
Still cask strength?
Still cask strength. So you'll see some places refer to it as being 57.1% alcohol. And that's because the first picture that Abelard provided of it, that was the strength on it. But I found 62s and 64s. Wow. So anywhere between like 55 and 65. They barrel it at about 68. So the fact that it's only down to 62 or 63 means it's probably only 5 or 6 years old. But the first editions were released in 2019, specifically for the American market. It is relatively expensive, $85 for a bottle of Alba if you can find it. It is at Total Wine and Bevmo. They're around, but it is, and its flavor is described as younger.
Yeah, well, it is younger.
Sherry has
actually, okay. I mean, Abalur Bunda is, a little harsh. Does this mean this is harsher?
Yeah, well, let's think about the difference between a sherry cask and a bourbon cask. So, for starters, most sherry casks, although modern sherry casks today that Scottish distilleries could buy, are literally made for the purpose of providing to Scottish distilleries. So, in the old days, they would make these barrels for export of sherry, because you bought your sherry in barrels, and then they had the leftover barrels, so they would use them. Today, to limit, they sell in bottles, and so to provide sherry flavorings in the sense of the sherry cask, they do young editions of sherry, typically a 3-year aging in that barrel, and they sell that barrel off. And they take that 3-year-old sherry and they use it for other things. It goes into other barrels. It'll age on further. So you get a certain richness from sherry that's distinct, right? And the barrels are typically used only a few times before they're used up. Bourbon casks are always the same. They're small. They're used once. And they're heavily charred. And so you go in, the American bourbon makers always go into the barrel at 63.5%. So the Scots always go in above that. They'll go in at 64.5, or even in the case of Aberlour, they come in at 67 and 68 because they're trying to go cask strength, or they're going to lose a little, right? And so it's going to pull different notes out of the wood because it's had a different experience. American barrels are charred. They've only had a 5 or 6 year aging with bourbon in them, so they've only got so much exposure. You're going to get a different flavor profile. I mean, I would argue they're abusing the name. This is a different.
That's what I'm. Yeah, if it was like a sweeter version.
Ironically, it's more expensive than the regular Bunda.
Yeah,
I found them within $10 of each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's not that much different, but I mean I guess the name's appropriate in the sense that they're using the same process, right? That is cask strength, multiple barrels of multiple ages, and where the original is all sherry, the Alba is all American bourbon. So okay, it's if you look at it as it's a style, it matches the style, but you definitely can tell the difference between a sherry cask version and that bourbon cask.
Sounds like I prefer the regular Bunad than the Alba, to be honest.
The problem this is a first love problem now, Leo.
Yeah, that's true. I'm like a little duckling. I am printed.
No, you're
I did too. I mean, we have this at our house regularly. Like it's there.
Maybe we'll get one of each and have a taste.
Yeah, have a little taste off.
Because I'd be curious. That would be an interesting thing to do, especially for developing your palate. To say, okay, sherry cask, bourbon cask. Can you tell?
Especially when you talk about the styles. The only thing I would say against the Alba, like where the Alba is in trouble, is that we know they use older barrelings of sherry, like 20-year-olds, to round out the flavor, and they're not going to have that for Alba. They haven't had it long enough.
So interesting. However, if you have not discovered Abalur in general, you should.
Yeah, they are famous for sherry casking whiskey in the Space Side style. No peat.
Which I like. I don't like the peaty. So
yeah, the 12,
exactly. That's a trick with Scotch.
Yeah,
the Abunda is kind of special.
Yeah, yeah. Now you say Abunda, it's spelled Bunadh.
Yeah,
but God knows it's Celtic. It could be anything.
Gaelic. So yeah,
it's Gaelic. Okay.
And I mean, I've heard it pronounced by Scottish people. I'm doing my best.
Abunach.
A little hock, the loogie is somewhere in there, right? And I say it better after I've had like
Abunach. Alba.
Could have 3. I know.
3 would be. It's great. You drink more of it, laddie. Don't worry about the name, laddie. It's just.
I'll never forget the day that it must have been like a build event. You and Carl were there, and Mary Jo. We were all sitting at the table at the previous Twit location, and Leo was secretly trying to steal the window from us.
I loved it.
Kind of bring it
like a criminal. He was like just pulling his hand back slowly, like bringing it in.
Hey, I think I brought you guys a 20-year-old barter house too, but you never gave any love to that thing. You got
you introduced me to Angel's Envy at that sitting, which I really still like.
Interesting.
I learned a lot about stuff. That's my first experience of cask strength, for sure.
My initial reaction was I said something to the effect of, I feel like I was just shot in the tongue.
I mean, you sunk back in the chair saying, "Oh, this is my jam."
Yeah. I was like, everything else receded.
Hello, oh sweet mystery of life, I have found you.
Yeah,
I want to try to find that round table experience in the old brick house. I'm looking at all of your appearances, Richard. Of course, it's been a little messed up.
I mean, so look for April and May, probably.
It'll probably be in one of your first appearances.
It was a long time ago.
Oh, very much pre-pandemic.
I mean, a decade before that.
Yeah.
Like it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
You had me data lakes. It was something dreadful.
Yeah. I'm trying data lakes.
Oh, please be.
Yeah, so I threw the short straw. What do we have to cover that nobody else can cover? Richie,
your first appearance. Look at this, 2013, 10 years ago. Let's not mention that one. Who else is there? It doesn't look like that. Looks like somebody we don't want to talk about, actually. And so Mary Jo would bring you in when Paul wasn't here in the 10 years ago.
Yeah, but this was like a live.
We were in the studio. That's why you'd think on the thumbnail I would see us.
I know
sitting in the studio.
But I wish I could. Yeah,
it's missing. I don't know why it's missing. Here's live from Build. That was the one where you made the pillow fort, right?
Well, the pillow fort.
That
was a million years ago. Yeah,
wasn't that? There you are.
Mary Jo was interviewing Tom, and we jumped into the.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Pillows behind him.
I don't know why. Yeah. It's like it's missing. It's like it's the missing episode.
Hidden out there somewhere.
Yeah. If somebody finds it, send us a note. It'd be fun to pull that up and you could watch Paul's first taste of Abelor.
Pretty sure I gave cautionary tale. I almost regretted bringing it. It's like, listen, this is a double every time. Like you need to.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's cask strength. It's not. That was the first time I ever even heard that the whiskey manufacturers dilute their whiskey before selling it to you.
Well, they dilute before they even barrel it.
I can't find pictures from this either. It's weird.
Yeah, it'll be. I'll have it somewhere. I'll be able to find it.
No. I don't know.
All right.
I think it was around 2016. That's what I think. Anyway, kids, that's it. There's no more. Go home. We have completed our journey here with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell as Windows Weekly episode 854 winds to a close. You'll find Rich at runesradio.com. That's where he does .NET Rocks and Runes Radio. He is also, of course, here every Wednesday, as is Paul Thurrott from Thurrott.com. That premium membership really is great. A lot of the stuff we talked about today from the premium. He also does books, Windows Everywhere, and, of course, a field guide to Windows 11, all at leanpub.com. You said you were writing in Mexico City. Were you writing another book?
No, I'm updating the Windows 11 field guide for 23H2.
That's the nice thing about buying that. You will continue to get it updated, right? So it's always up to date. That's a really good deal. We do this show in the studios here in beautiful downtown Petaluma every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Now 1900 UTC, because we've gone back to standard time. 1900 UTC. The live stream at live.twit.tv if you're watching live. You can also watch live in Discord, by the way. We're going to, I think in the next few weeks, move to that permanently So if you're not a club member, you really want to join and join us in the Discord for the live stream. We open a stage for every show. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show available at our website, twit.tv/WW. There is a dedicated YouTube channel to Windows Weekly. The video's there. You can also subscribe audio or video in your favorite podcast player. We like Pocket Casts. That's the one we recommend. And that's iOS or Android. And it's free. But if you subscribe that way, you'll get it automatically every Wednesday afternoon right after we're done. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Richard. Have a great week. You're going to stay home for a while?
Off to Ignite next week.
Yep, me too.
Oh, next week's show is from Ignite.
Right.
Are you guys we were thinking that maybe you could use the podcast booth, but now we're thinking you should probably just go back to your rooms.
Go into the hotel.
Yeah. Okay. So we will have all the details from the Ignite conference next week. Thank you for reminding me. Have fun. Maybe share a tipple. Or two.
I can guarantee you they'll be drinking.
We'll be tippling.
I'm not going to do this stuff sober. Good to know.
Yep.
That's the explanation. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Richard. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Where is Ignite these days? Seattle. See you in Seattle next week on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
I'm Jason Howell. How do you thank your hardworking team? Well, with a Club Twit corporate subscription, of course. You can show your appreciation and reward your tech team with a subscription to Club Twit, and that way they'll be informed and entertained with podcasts covering the latest in technology. With a Club Twit subscription, they're going to get access to all of our podcasts ad-free, the members-only Discord, exclusive outtakes, behind-the-scenes and special content, and exclusive shows like Hands on Mac, Hands on Windows, and the Untitled Linux Show. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit and look for corporate plans for complete details.